Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are gonna see, what if Naruto was Lusty father of KUNOU? Before we start, please join my Patreon page to watch latest 18+ content. Now let's begin. In the room that was a white place, and then there was a bright light, and when the light brightened down, a lady with 9 tail and tied up hair with fox ear on top and well, leaving aside her stunning beauty. A body that has nothing to envy of the goddesses themselves. Powerful power and devoted mother. Yusaka is the leader of the Yukai faction, a faction that has always been characterized by being pacifist, but that despite that, it was well known for its destructive power. Yusaka opened her eyes widen with surprise, looking around, noticing that she's no longer in Kyoto but a place that looks like a movie theater. However, that was not her problem at the moment. KUNOU, leader of Kyoto, put everything aside and yelled out for her only daughter with concern, "KUNOU, Oka-sama." Yusaka immediately recognized the voice of her little offspring, turning to see her and running towards her. "Oka-sama, where are we?" KUNOU asked. Yusaka was relieved that her daughter was safe, though she also had her own suspicions. "Yusaka-sama, do you know why we are here?" A third voice spoke to her with great respect. It was a young teenager with long crimson-red hair. She is he younger sister of the current Mouse Searzex Lucifer. "Rias Grimori, I see that you and your nobility are also here," the leader of Kyoto said to the Grimori heiress. "But to answer to your question, I regret to inform you that I do not know what we are doing in this strange place." Rias pondered the answer made by Yusaka. She was just as confused as the leader of Kyoto. After all, just a few minutes ago, Rias and her peerage were at the Kyoto residence watching a movie and suddenly appeared in that strange place. "Ria-tan," a male voice pronounced said affectionate nickname in a playful tone. "I see that you also appeared here with all your nobility." And Ravel-chan, Onio-sama, seeing her older brother in front of her, made her realize that the place they were in was anything but normal. "Even Grafia Oni-sama, Otu-sama and Oka-sama are with you." "So Tan." Those present turned their gaze suddenly upon hearing the melodious voice of the Mao Serafal Leviathan, while said Mao Suspicio Usly hugged her younger sister in front of the latter's nobility. "Searzex," the Red Mao responded to the call of his friend Azazel, who was accompanied by Michael and several angels. "This is worrying. Who has so much power to bring us all to this place?" "Azazel is right, this place has an air." Michael looked at the place where they were with melancholy. "A sacred air, right?" Her younger sister, Gabriel, finished the leader of heaven's sentence. "This place is as pure as heaven itself. How is it possible that this phenomenon exists?" Everyone carefully meditated on the words spoken by Gabriel. After all, she was not considered God's favorite daughter for nothing. But it was also worrying that so many entities were in the same place at the same time. Sona and Rias peerage, Saraorg Baal and his group, Grigori's leaders, Valley Lucifer and his group, the angels of heaven, Yusaka and her daughter KUNOU, family of the devil factions. Even Odin appeared among them. "Greetings, mortal," the voice echoed throughout the place. "Don't be alarmed, I know you must all be thinking who or what brought you here, right? But before you attack what you cannot see, you must know that this was necessary." Everyone was briefly silent. After all, they didn't know what being had brought them all to that place. Searzex took a deep breath and took a step forward. "Excuse me, but can you tell us your name, please?" The Red Mao asked politely. "I think I speak for everyone when I say that we would feel calmer if we knew who we were talking to. My name, well, I have lived for so long, I have transcended the past, present and future, that having a name of my own seemed absurd to me. But that's okay, for much of the 30th century you have known me as Paradox, but you may call me Hagoromo Otsutsuki." Time traveling, 30th century. What was he talking about? Is it really possible to travel in time? If time travel is possible, even between dimensions, if you have the necessary power to break the limits imposed by logic, if you all have that, you can do it. What's more, among you is someone who shared a strong bond with a dimensional traveler. By instinct, everyone turned to the fallen angel Azazel. After all, if someone spoke to a dimensional traveler among them all, only Grigori's leader apparently fit the bill. "Why the hell are they looking only at me?" Azazel expressed his total disgust. Everything illogical that happens has to be my fault." The others just looked at him with expressions of, "Really? Okay, I admit that I have done very strange things, like going to Asgard and stealing a stem from the Yggdrasil tree to study it, but until then, I have not met any dimensional travelers." "We're sorry, Azazel-sensei," the Sekiryute, Issei Hyodo, apologized. Well, how can I say it? Only you could have such characteristics. I'm very disappointed in you, Issei. I will no longer give you the platinum membership you wanted for the stripper club of all the factions that I am building, Azazel informed the Securite. No, please sensei. The Securite rushed towards Azazel's right leg to immediately beg, I'm so sorry. But don't deny me seeing the opis of all the women of the factions. Even a diagram of what order I was going to start in. Okay, I'll think about it later, but it's your last warning, Issei, Grigori's leader threatened, am I clear? Hi, sensei, the Securite attended euphorically. The fallen angel does not lie, since the bond I speak of was a sentimental bond, specifically, a loving bond between two beings of different dimensions. A true forbidden love. For some reason, the women present side in adoration. How not to know? After all, a forbidden love always attracted attention, even the romance between Sirzex and Graphia was so memora. Because they belonged to two different factions. But the question now was, who had that person been? After several minutes of mental debates, all eyes focused on the current leader of Kyoto Hua. Precisely the single mother of her only daughter KUNOU. Coincidence? At first it was always believed that KUNOU's father was a Yukai who died in battle, certainly no one knew who the father of the little heiress of Kyoto had been. Feeling the gazes on her mother and her, KUNOU squeezed her mother's hand. Oka-sama, the little fox who looked at her mother with some curiosity, what that man said, is it true? However, her mother did not respond, but rather sharpened her gaze towards the man, with great anger in her facial expression. Don't look at me like that, Yusaka Haim. I know it was your secret, but believe me, everything I do is necessary to prevent the catastrophe that will come in the future. That girl that you conceived with the Nanadime Hokage is one of the three heirs of the Will of Fire who will save the future. Nanadime Hokage, the leaders translated this term and the result was, the seventh shadow of fire. They had to admit that this title commanded respect wherever it went. The dimensional traveler who was known as, the Child of Prophecy. The heir to the Will of Fire founded by my son Asura Otsutsuki. The man who called the Biju by his name. The one who managed eliminate the hatred in his dimension and achieved peace in the elemental nations and then became a legend. Uzumaki Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto. How long had it been since Yusaka last heard that name come out of someone else's mouth? Instead of getting any more upset than she was, the leader of Kyoto smiled kindly. If she had listened correctly to every word said by Hagoromo Otsutsuki, Naruto, the unruly boy she knew when he was a teenager, achieved his dream, brought peace to his world and became Hokage, not the Rokudime Hokage as he had planned, but in the Nanadime Hokage. She was happy and proud that your killing instinct gave way, didn't it? But yes, Naruto Uzumaki achieved his dreams, he brought peace to the elemental nations, he became Hokage and he had a family. That last one hurt her a little. Of course she expected Naruto to get married, have children and be happy, but knowing that he did made her feel a little sad. I see, I'm happy for him. He achieved his goals and had what he always wanted, a family. Yusaka sighed a little, I couldn't feel anything but pride towards the man I fell in love with many years ago. Naruto is unable to remember you, but you knew that, right? Traveling between dimensions without any practice tends to cause side effects. Amnesia was the case of Naruto, for him what he experienced with you never happened and these memories were supplanted as time passed. Yes, I always knew it. Naruto and I came to the conclusion that possibly when he had to return he would forget everything. The Kyuubi that lived inside him gave us the idea. It's sad if you think about it, right? Asked Yusaka. The leaders were dismayed, so the one who became emotionally involved with the dimensional traveler was Yusaka. Frankly, no one expected it to be her to tell the truth. Yusaka Dono, I'm sorry if my question offends you, but didn't you think about notifying that fact when signing the agreement between the factions? Sirzex was the one who spoke for. Saint, I don't want to sound disrespectful to you, but I think we deserve an explanation. Sirzex Lucifer, I signed as leader of Kyoto, I even thanked you when you saved me from the attack of the hero faction, but my personal life is out of the question, don't you think so? Yusaka questioned. She knew that the red Mao did not mean it in a bad way, but still she did not want to talk about it. But, I must emphasize that the last name Lucifuge means more than many believe, said Yusaka, causing some fear in Graphia Lucifuge. We all keep our secrets, and I'm sorry for bringing that last thing up. But if you don't share your private life, I don't have, because do it with mine. What was that hero like? This time it was Gabriel who spoke. Strangely, a lot of emotion was seen in the seraph's face. Is it true that he eliminated hatred in his dimension? It would mean that he is a man who has a pure heart. What was that hero like? Yusaka smiled at the question asked by Gabriel. Frankly, he blonde took a few dramatic seconds. No idea. I love Naruto, but when I met him he was anything but a leader to trust. He was stupid and irresponsible, even an airhead, even though I blindly trusted that he would achieve his dream. I can't explain how he did it. Everyone had a drop of sweat run down their necks. How could someone who admitted to loving another could so calmly say the defects that he or she possessed? Although, well, they say that to love you have to recognize the other's defects, right? Although, Yusaka showed a melancholic look, but despite that she showed happiness, and he promised something he always fulfilled it regardless of the cost. Naruto is the kind of man who would prefer to die before breaking a promise, a man who breaks his promises, limits if that allows him to save the innocent. That was the man with whom I fell completely in love a few years ago. The last words spoken by Yusaka did represent a true hero. Otu-sama, my Otu-sama is that kind of person, KUNOU said to herself. She had always wanted to meet her father, it was her dream to know who he was, but now that she heard about him like that, it made her very excited. My Otu-sama is incredible, right, Okasama? Yes, your father is the best man of all, KUNOU. Yusaka tenderly caressed the radiant golden hair of her only daughter. Do you wish to see him? Asked Hagoromo. Why you? Can you do that? Yusaka stuttered a little. Can you really take me to Naruto? I am capable of that and more. After all, that was the reason I brought you all to this place. But before that, I must show you the world I will send you to. Before and after. Also, what better way to do it than from the perspective of the shinobi heroes, said Hagoromo. In front of all of them appeared a tall man with gray skin. He had large wrinkles and short woolly reddish hair, but with spikes on the top of his head with a tied braid on the left side that reached his chin, of which in addition he had a long beard that reached to his stomach. He wore a long, high-necked white kimono with a series of magatama on his chest, as well as a long necklace of magatama, as well as 9 small red magatama and a large one in the shape of the Rinnegan on the back. That elder was Hagoromo Otsutsuki, or as he was also known in the elemental nations, Rakudo Sennin. Everyone present agreed on one thing, that man was strong. Much stronger than all of them combined. Hagoromo Otsutsuki looked brotherly at the little KUNOU who was standing next to her mother. In the blink of an eye, the Rakudo Sennin was floating in a lotus position in front of the infant and said, without a doubt you are his daughter, the eyes you have are part of your father's worthy inheritance. I see in your soul an unbreakable willpower that will grow stronger as the years go by. Yes, the power you possess, just like your older brother, will one day surpass that of your father. Your future is a white canvas for me, little one, said Hagoromo. Is that bad? The little heiress of Kyoto asked a little fearfully. Isn't it bad that I can't see my future? Not at all, little Kitsune princess. Hagoromo began to float towards the center of everyone present. That only means that only you decide your destiny, that you are not tied to the natural laws that trace your history. You are just like your father, someone who is capable of changing the natural course of time itself to make his dreams come true. KUNOU smiled hugely. Who would have thought? After all, she had inherited something from her father besides his eyes. The Rakudo Sennin invoked his staff and made a kind of waterfall appear in front of them that showed images in very high definition. Let me show you the shinobi world, the place to which I will send you shortly. Agoromo imbued chakra towards the waterfall to show everything to those present. You will witness the achievements of the Orange Hokage of Konoha. I'm going to bring you back to Konoha even if I have to break all your bones. A blonde, only 13 years old, spoke rudely. Sasuke. The people who they see as the first battle between Naruto and Sasuke in the Great Valley of the End. Leave it, Naruto. I chose my path and neither you, nor Sakura or Kakashi have the right to oppose it. Sasuke Uchiha placed his Hitai-8 with the Konoha symbol on his forehead to face his best friend. This will be the end, Naruto. Today I will get, thanks to you, the power I need to defeat Itachi. So you're going to break the bond, Sasuke? Naruto asked. Yes, you are my best friend, the only one I have, the person I consider my brother. Sasuke clenched his fist tightly. That's why I must kill you to obtain the power that Itachi possesses. You must die, Naruto. And so, the first battle to the death of both began. Otu-sama is incredible. Kuno looked with stars in her eyes at the fight her father had in childhood. He's very handsome, I see why Okasama fell in love with him. That last remark gave a small blush on Yusaka cheeks. So that's Sasuke Uchiha, the person you promised to bring to the path of good. The leader of Kyoto looked carefully at the battle that Hagoromo was showing them. Even as a child you showed that look so full of will, you were always the same. Let me see if I understood. The current Sekurute, Issei Hyodo spoke out loud, that black-haired boy too. LD Naruto that he even considered him his brother, but that he had to kill him anyway. I don't understand what's going on. Issei-kun, I don't think you of all people have the right to reproach that. After all Valley-kun and you are good friends, but despite that you have fought to the death. His partner Kiba Yuto informed the brunette. Don't remind me. Ofade briefly embarrassed the audience and decided to pay attention back to the screen. The battle with Sasuke had ended with Naruto's defeat at the hands of the last Uchiha. He couldn't beat him and as a consequence, failed to bring him back. The audience had their eyes widen or gasped upon seeing his condition and hearing that he failed to bring back Sasuke. Oh my god, he looks like he's on death's door, Issei said before wincing for saying the word god along with the other devils. Kuno was frightened when she saw her father conditions. Yusaka was also wide-eyed when she saw the condition Naruto is left in by Sasuke. I see that you've already woken up. The Sannin Jiraiya spoke to the young blonde. What will you do now? You will continue to walk the same path as Sasuke just to bring him back. Naruto, I followed that same path too. Try to get Orochimaru to return and look at me, I lost many years of my life in vain. Please train me, Ero Sennin. Begged the airheaded blonde. If you train me I know I'll be able to bring him back. I made a promise to Sakura-chan and I'm not going to break it no matter what. Understand, son, you are young, you have a path ahead of you, you said you wanted to become Hokage, didn't you? So don't waste your life chasing someone who isn't worth it, forget Sasuke and fulfill your dream, said Jiraiya. The audience were intrigued to hear what Naruto's going to say next but caught them by surprise. Someone who is not capable of saving his friend is not worthy of becoming Hokage, exclaimed the blonde Uzumaki to his future teacher. For some reason those last words stuck in Jiraiya's heart. I beg you, Ero Sennin. I will not falter like you did. With Orochimaru, I will bring Sasuke back to Konoha and then I will become Hokage. Jiraiya looked at him seriously and asked, how are you so sure of that? Because I made a promise and Naruto Uzumaki never breaks a promise, Dadbeo. I see an unbreakable will in his eyes. It has been a long time since I saw that in the eyes of a warrior. The Nordic god gives his opinion seriously, but it is also sad that being just a child he already has so much weight on his shoulders. It is unfortunate. Oden Dono is right, from what I can see they become shinobi at a very young age and as a consequence they stain their hands with blood when they are just children. It's sad if you think about it, said Sirzex. His will never faltered, because of that he became who he is today. Hagoromo stated. Then the waterfall shows Naruto but much older. A 16-year-old blonde prostrated himself on one of the railings of Konoha village to get a better look at the panorama. It's been 2 long years, Naruto said looking at the changed village. Naruto Uzumaki has returned. Naruto, a female voice called him. Oh, Sakura-chan. The blonde Uzumaki saw his best friend. How long? I see that things have changed a lot. Naruto Nichin, a brown-haired teenager appeared behind the pink-haired girl. Konohamaru, look how much you've grown. Naruto Gri. Ted his first and only official disciple. You're taller than me at your age, he. I met him 6 months before he returned to Konoha. The way he appears there is how I remember him. Yusaka said as she looked melancholy at the blonde Uzumaki's appearance, as if she were seeing him for the first time again. He's a handsome young man. Venelana Grimori said, but if he was only 16 years old when he was intimate with you, wasn't he a little small? Things turned out as they should have. Yusaka said amused, but believe me, when we were together, Naruto was anything but small. With this reveal, teenage female demons blushed at such words. Kuno being small just looked at them without understanding what was happening. Damn lucky blonde able to do it with at 16 years old. I curse you brat. A jealous Azazel mumbled. The next thing they saw was the test imposed by Kakashi on team number 7. then were the talks that Naruto had with them to catch up. The battle in Suna against the Akatsuki who kidnapped Gaara, in addition to the slight flashes that the Kyuubi showed through his chakra. After that the images settled on Team Number 7's return to Konoha. Kiba, Shino, how are you? Naruto animatedly greeted his two old friends. Wow. Akamaru has grown up a lot, Dadbeo. Holy crap, that dog is huge. Saji says, surprised, I've never seen a dog that big in real life. It's because normal dogs would never grow to that size. Sona adjusted her glasses as she saw the illogical events that occurred in that dimension. This place is stranger than I thought. Well, what did you expect? Akamaru is my ninja dog and he will grow much bigger than that. Kiba commented proudly, getting a bark of affirmation from Akamaru. I see that you returned, Naruto, but don't trust yourself, we became much bigger strong in these 2 years. Do you want to fight, you furball? Naruto asked. Whenever and wherever you want, blonde airhead. Kiba responded. Some of the audience sweat dropped after hearing they both want to fight each other. Why is Otu-sama wanting to fight the dog boy? Asked KUNOU. You two calm down, Naruto-kun just returned from a mission. Shino said, trying to calm them down. Well at least the Shino boy was able to calm them down, said Sona. It's true, I need one of you two to help me. Naruto said, we are going on a mission and I need a third member on my team, can you do it? I'm sorry, Naruto-kun. I have a mission early tomorrow. Shino responded with some regret for not being able to help his friend. I would go, but I have to attend to Inuzuka clan matters with my mother. Kiba said, just as discouraged at not being able to help like Shino. I see. Naruto was about to give up until he noticed some fine hairs hiding in the wall behind him. That's true. The blonde Uzumaki ran towards the wall and without thinking what he would say next had a double meaning to it. He exclaimed. Some of the audience had their eyes widened when they saw how fast Naruto was going. Hinata, I need you. The beautiful Kunoichi with long dark blue hair and pearl-colored eyes could only hear those words before her white face transformed into an intense red light due to the powerful blush. Naruto-kun, the young Hyuga found it difficult to pronounce her words. Hey Naruto, what are you saying on the street like it's nothing? Kiba scolded, look how you made Hinata really nervous. Hey, but I need someone for a mission. It is clear that Naruto did not know the effect that his words had on the beautiful Hyuga's heart. Yusaka didn't know whether to laugh or cry because of how dense the blonde she fell in love with when she was a teenager was. Something is wrong here. Issei focused his serious gaze on Hinata Hyuga. That woman is more than she seems. Do you think she has any special abilities? Akano Himehime asked. Something like that. My eyes would never deceive me. That woman, she is a D-cup. The current Sekyurute exclaimed without any shame, but how can she hide those wonderful breasts? It is unusual, she is committing a terrible sin by doing so. Cup D, really, strange as it may seem, it was Valley Lucifer who questioned this statement. How would she hide that? Well, wearing chest bandages and loose clothing finishes the job. What a waste, damn it. Said the current Sekyurute. Pervert. Said Kaneko. Her eyes are beautiful. Little KUNOU thinks, they look like two pairs of pearls. It is a Kekkei Genkei, a bloodline known as the Byakugan. With those eyes she is able to look hundreds of kilometers and also through objects as if it were not. Only the Hyuga possess that special ability. Furthermore, this girl is the princess of the Byakugan, the woman who saved the shinobi hero from being tempted by darkness, said Hagoromo. Those present listened without interrupting. In that dimension they possessed incredible abilities after all. However, Yusaka only paid attention to the last words said by the Rakudo Sanin. If her guesses were true, that woman was the one who became Naruto's wife in the future. CK. What are you doing here, Naruto? The time you wasted looking for me you could have used training to become Hokage, said Sasuke. Naruto replied, someone who is not capable of saving his friend is not worthy of becoming Hokage, Sasuke. After that, those present watched as Naruto and Sasuke appeared in front of a huge cage that enclosed what they could recognize as a Kyuubi. A Kyuubi? What does a Kyuubi do in that dimension? Ajuka spoke with doubt. Do you mean that Yukai exist there? No, that is my oldest son. He looks like that because he was the one I took when I created him, but there are no Yukai there like in Kyoto, answered the Rakudo Sanin. What are you doing here, damn Uchiha? I think fearsome Kyuubi no Yoko, those eyes are the same as that person's, the darkness and the damn curse of hate. Yes, that Sharingan, it's just like Uchiha Madara's, said the Kyuubi. This caused some of audience to shiver. However, Sasuke ignored it and squeezed the Kyuubi's chakra head to make it explode and said, "And to me, I don't care about all that. Those eyes are also special, right?" Michael asked. The Kyuubi called them Sharingan. What are its powers? The Sharingan is a Kekkei Genkai of the Uchiha clan. The Sharingan allows the user to copy any jutsu as long as it is not through a bloodline. Naruto told me that before the Uchiha massacre the Sharingan made them stronger than the Hyuga. Yusaka explained to everyone's doubt. So you also have knowledge about that dimension, the Trut. Is that it doesn't surprise me much anymore. Azazel said as if it were something very natural. He told me certain things during the time we spent together, you shouldn't be surprised, Azazel Dono. Yusaka responded to the Grigori leader, then turning her head back to the screen. The scene then shows a much more darker tone. In the 5th Hokage's office everything was silent. The Toad bosses K, known as Ma and Pa, in the company of the no longer so small Gamakichi, showed a lot of pain in their eyes. Tsunade looked slightly at the ceiling of the office next to Shizune. Ero Sennin, he dead? Nah. Ruto's completely broken voice wanted to rectify what Tsunade informed him only seconds ago. How? Ero Sennin is a Sannin, the strongest shinobi in Konoha. Naruto refused to believe with all his might that his sensei had died in battle. He can't be dead. Naruto, the words just didn't come out of Tsunade's mouth. Why did you send him alone, Ba-chan? The young Uzumaki exploded in compel. He would never have let you go on a suicide mission alone. Pain was what spoke in those moments in Naruto. Ero Sennin is the one who was going to be the 5th Hokage, not you. He wouldn't have sent you straight to death. Each word was like a dagger that pierced Tsunade's heart hard. Naruto-chan, Pa exclaimed, but it was already too late. The blue-eyed blonde had left the Hokage's office and ran away with no fixed destination. The audience gasped about Naruto's sensei's death and talking back to his leader. His teacher died shortly after Naruto returned to his dimension. Yusaka said with some pain. Naruto had spoken to her about Jiraiya with great enthusiasm, something that she detected immediately, and came to the conclusion that for the blonde Uzumaki, the Sannin of the Toa DS, was as if he were his father. So sorry Naruto, if I had been there I would have supported you. He was left broken, totally broken, and had no strength to move forward. Jiraiya had become the father he never had, the example of the shinobi he wanted to become. Why did life insist on leaving him alone? He was unfair, very unfair. But what killed him the most from the inside was that everything that happened was his fault. If he hadn't been a Jinchuriki, if he just didn't have the nine-tailed Biju inside him, Jiraiya would never have risked his life to try to protect him. I was weak. I trained for 2 years without rest. But even so, I was still weak. What good was all that effort? Sasuke is still out there committing crimes. Konoha had been attacked twice in a short period of time by the hand of Akatsuki. He was unable to control more than 3 tails of the Kyuubi's chakra. Maybe fate was right after all. A loser would always be a loser. Otu-sama, you're not a loser, said KUNOU with ears a bit droopy. Naruto-kun, a weak voice called him from behind. Even with tears in his eyes, the blonde Uzumaki turned slightly to look at whoever was calling him. Hinata, Naru, to looked extremely strange at the Hyuga heiress. What are you doing here? He tried to leave the place, but the Hyuga was faster and grabbed him by the sleeve of his flannel. Go away Hinata, I want to be alone. When Hinata saw the blonde's blue eyes, those eyes that always had a unique shine in their gaze, but that were now so dry and showed a dead emptiness instead of hope, her heart almost broke. In the Chinin exams, taking a little courage, Hinata began to speak to the blonde Uzumaki. I was about to throw in the towel. But, I heard your voice, Princess Hyug, said to the blonde Uzumaki, your voice gave me strength to fight. I know I'm not as Sakura-san, but I want to help you, be useful to you. Because, was the only thing the blonde Uzumaki said. Because you changed my life. Naruto-kun, the Hyuga smiled warmly, you made Neji Nisama return to the right path, that Gaara-san became a good person, you have achieved so many things with pure willpower. I don't want to. For some reason the stuttering had disappeared as if by magic. See Jiraiya-sama's legacy end here. That last thing made the boy react. The legacy of Jiraiya the Sannin. My dream is that this world can one day have peace, Naruto. Not a fleeting peace that is lost as the years go by, but a peace that lasts forever. How will you achieve that dream, Ero Sennin? You're too old for that. For some reason, a vague conversation he had with Jiraiya almost 2 years ago came to mind. Orochimaru told me something similar the last time we saw each other. But you know, Naruto, I don't necessarily have to fulfill that dream. The legacies were created for something. Legacies? Do you have an heir, Ero Sennin? Maybe not blood, but someone with whom you forge a bond. Naruto brought his right hand to his chest and squeezed the flannel he was wearing tightly, while a lump formed in his throat. And I'm sure that person will achieve what I wasn't able to do. After all, the #1 airhead ninja to surprise people in my precious heir. It's true, how could he almost forget something so important? I inherit the will of my master. Enough crying. The blonde dried his tears, and once again the fire that represented the will of fire burned strongly within the heart of Naruto Uzumaki. Hinata. Naruto turned to see her again as he smiled warmly. Thank you for everything. And in a flash of speed he disappeared. It was for a few short seconds, but the Hyuga princess could see it clearly. That brightness and willpower had returned to the blonde Uzumaki's spirit. And that was enough for her. He was on the verge of breaking down psychologically, but he was able to stand up again. That guy is a real man. Saraorg Bale immediately recognized the worth that Naruto Uzumaki possessed. One day I would like to cross my fists with him. I am sure that a battle like that I could never forget him. For a moment hatred and darkness were about to invade him. Gabriel murmured, looking with a smile at the outcome of said images. That girl saved him. He would have to be a fool not to realize that Hinata had romantic feelings for Naruto. Furthermore, Gabriel was an angel and her pure feelings were easy for her to detect. He is a good person after all. So that girl, Hinata Hyuga, is the one who will become his wife in the future. Yusaka said in her thoughts. Without a doubt, their dimension is totally different from ours. Even toads can talk as if they were people. Azazel said, the fallen angel paying attention to the small saint detail. That place is incredibles away from possessing the technology that we enjoy. That does not mean that it is still a place where I would like to go to investigate. The following images were in the battle that Pain fought in Konoha, which led to its destruction at the hands of the then known Akatsuki boss. In a last-ditch attempt to protect her people, Tsunade had used every last drop of her chakra to save civilians and ninja alike from dying buried in the terrible destruction. You are stupid, Gondime Hokage, a serious Pain said with disgust. You spent all your chakra on some useless humans. And with that you also lost the last opportunity you had to win me. The Akatsuki leader walked back and let his clones take charge, and this village and its inhabitants, turned them into dust. One of Pain's clones rushed towards the weak Gondime Hokage. Tsunade saw her and approaching, but it didn't matter. She protected her people with everything she had and she didn't regret doing it. A Hokage is one who looks after the rest. Tsunade, I am sure that you will be a great Hokage, like your friend and fellow Sannin. I can bet on that. The words Jiraiya told him years ago when he was about to be named the 5th Fire Shadow came to his mind. With a smile, the Sannin of the slugs faced the terrible enemy without any fear in her gaze. But, boom, its end never came. He surprise of everyone including Tsunade, Pain's clone hit the ground because a Rasengan hit his chest and destroyed him in a matter of seconds. The Hokage should not take charge of such unimportant matters. That voice, how can I forget that voice? Although she had already matured, she still had the voice of that child who made her lose her fear of blood and instilled in her again the will of fire for which her grandfather fought all his life. I will take care of it, you rest. Ba-chan. Naruto, feeling how the strength was leaving her body, Tsunade smiled at the young man she considered her grandson and said a few last words. You're late, silly boy. The audience gets when they saw Naruto's new look orange pigmentation on his eyelids with his eyes looking like toads wearing a cape with a black flame designed to the bottom of it. Otu-sama looks so cool, said KUNOU as some of female wear blushing, especially Yusaka was blushing very hard. The next thing that happened was that Naruto fought hard with all of Pain's clones. Many even thought he would lose when they treacherously attacked him from behind and held him, but none of them expected Naruto to let them absorb the Sennin's energy to convert him. That clone in stone. After several more moments, Naruto reached a critical state where he completely lost his Sennin mode and his chakra was practically null. No, 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 no. The young Uzumaki cursed angrily as he saw how his power vanished. You put up a fight, Kitsune, but your incompetence ends here. Pain activated the Rinnegan to attract Naruto's body close to him. When he got close he used his chakra-infused tubes to smash him into the ground. Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, I have won. Naruto was immobilized, his legs, arms and chest had been pierced by Pain's tubes, so it was true. Was this his defeat? Daddy, Naruto, yelled out the two Kitsune while some of the audience gasped or eyes widened. This is over, Kitsune. Pain raised his fist ready to kill the last Uzumaki. But he had to step back to prevent the soft fist of the Hyuga from touching his chest. Another insect came to get in the way. Hinata, what are you doing? Get out of here. Naruto looked horrified as his generation partner came to help him. You are no match for him. The audience also started worried about Hinata. I know, the Hyuga responded as she tried to remove the chakra tea. Oops, that Pain embedded in Naruto's body, but if you die, all this is over. Why do you do it? Naruto simply didn't understand why someone would risk their life like that for him. Why would you risk your life for someone like me? Some of the audience named in to hear her answer, especially Seraphol. Because I, Princess Hyuga, stood in an attack position to face Pain, because I love you, Naruto-kun. Oh my god, Seraphol exclaimed in a screech of emotion, though when she's the word god also the other demons went as well. This is the first confession I have heard in the middle of the battlefield. The Mal-Leviathan just loved romance, and what she had just seen, how a maiden risked her life to protect the man that she loves, moved her greatly. I'm #Team Hinata now. Seraphol, see, Rex whispered to her and discreetly pointed to the position where Yusaka was, who was looking at her with clear annoyance. We don't want to make an enemy. But Sirs-chan, didn't you see how she avenully launched herself against an enemy she couldn't defeat just to save Naruto-chan? I Seraphol Leviathan. Seraphol in fanboy mode. Support this love, I swear by my title of Levi Tan. You're going to get us killed. Sirsex said, then sighing resignedly. Nothing could change his good friend's mind. Okusama, why did the woman with pretty eyes tell Otusama that she loves him? KUNOU asked strangely, aren't you Otusama's wife? Quote, Etta, KUNOU, Yusaka was trying to find a way to explain the situation to her little girl. You see, your father and I, how to say it, we are not together right now. Because, the little Kitsune replied, well, what happens is, Yusaka begged to the gods to help her in this situation. Look what happening. Odin pointed out the dark transformation that Naruto was having. Thank you gods, Yusaka mentally thanked the Nordic god. But when she turned to see the screen she was scared in what she was seeing. Naruto's fury had exceeded to the limit. Seeing how Hinata was apparently murdered by Pain made Naruto's little sanity he still had disappear in a simple blink. The Kyuubi chakra invaded his body completely and his transformation began. 7 tails of chakra formed around Naruto. What was there was no longer Naruto, it was the unbridled Kyuubi with a thirst for revenge and a desire to kill Pain. The battle between Naruto Kyuubi vs Pain began again. The audiences got a bit scared, but also some of them were in awe at the same time. The two Nikos had stiffened upon seeing his look and feels like they would prey and he was the predator looking to eat them. Ootou-sama, said KUNOU, a bit scared and worried for her father. Www, what's happening to him? Said Issei, scared out of his mind. It is the 9 tails of his world, said Yusaka, who is also worried about Naruto's condition. The Akatsuki leader tried to defend himself, but the brute force of the Kyuubi no Yoko was superior. The pure instinct of the beast was faster than his fully analyzed movements. But that was not the important thing, but rather what was happening in the young Uzumaki's subconscious. The blonde was about to remove the seal and free the most powerful Biju, but a hand interrupted him. Who are you? The blonde Uzumaki looked carefully at the person who had appeared in front of him. You are Minato Namikaze, Yondaime Hokage, and also, the 4th Fire Shish. Ado appeared in front of the blonde Uzumaki. I am your father, Naruto. A strong revelation was revealed. That was my grandfather, KUNOU said, though she didn't expect this. It was one thing to see her father in his childhood and adolescence, but she didn't see her grandfather coming. My grandfather is also very pretty, Ka-chan. Minato Namikaze, Yusaka had heard that name come out of Naruto's mouth many times. Your idol and role model turned out to be your father. Minutes later, after the blonde hit his father in the abdomen, the latter explained the situation and how things had happened. Naruto seemed to understand what was happening. I see that my time is running out. Minato watched as his body began to disappear. I'm very sorry, son. I really would have liked to see how you went from a boy to a man. I will never be able to forgive myself for that. I always admired you, even without knowing the truth, you were my example to follow all the time. The Civilia Hokage, I followed your legend and I have not given up. Naruto wiped the tears from his eyes. I am what I am because of you, so. Thank you Dadbeo. Before disappearing completely, Minato took one last look at his son and said to himself. Without a doubt, you will be the one who brings peace to this world. Wait, how is it possible for a dead person to visit a living person? Ravel asked, but shocked at what she was seeing. Not even here that is possible. Naruto Uzumaki is capable of creating miracles. What you saw is nothing compared to what he will do in the near future. Hagoromo Otsutsuki defined Naruto as a being capable of achieving miracles, and with what they were seeing, those present began to realize that every word said by the Rakuto Sennin was totally true. But it's not over yet, right? Said Ajuka. He still needs to defeat that guy. Yes, now look what happens next, how the hero redeems a villain, said Hagoromo Otsutsuki. Jiraiya Sensei's dreams lacked realism, achieving peace through dialogue is impossible. I will bring peace to this world, but eliminating with my hand those who disobey my word. Nagato Uzumaki, the real pain, declared rudely. That would not be peace but a dictatorship. Naruto Uzumaki reproached. The peace that Ero Sennin preached can be made, and I will show you. Naruto took out a small book from his jacket. This book was made by Ero Sennin, the first book he wrote and never published. The story of an absolutely bold shinobi. That was the name of the book. What do you want me to do now that I know that? Nagato questioned Naruto's words. It is too late for me to believe in Jiraiya Sensei's words, and even if I did, I am not worthy of them. The last thing was said with great pain. I murdered Jiraiya Sensei. The story of an absolutely bold shinobi tells the story of a ninja who never gave up on his dream. But what really stands out here is not that Ero Sennin wrote it, but in the person who inspired him to do it. Naruto showed the back to Nagato, where the name of the person who wrote it appeared. Inspired him to create his first masterpiece. Ero Sennin made it very clear that his disciples inspired him, but that without a doubt nay of them was the one who encouraged him to do it. The name of that disciple is Nagato Uzumaki. The red-haired Uzumaki opened his eyes in surprise. He, not Yahiko or Konan, but he was the one who inspired him to create that book. And the name of the hero of that book, the blonde Uzumaki pointed to himself with a lot of willpower, his name is Naruto. So his master, someone that gave him his aim. This Nagato is the inspiration for his book, said Yusaka, said surprised by this revelation for her husband's name. Minutes later, Naruto Uzumaki, I will entrust the dream that I once had and now have again. The dream of Jiraiya Sensei to you. Nagato began to store the remaining chakra in his body to perform his last technique. I know how that hero that Jiraiya Sensei dreamed that one day he would be born. I promise, Naruto assured. Rinin Tensei, using all the life power he possessed, Nagato Uzumaki redeemed his way in the final seconds of his life. For a few short seconds, Nagato could see the image of his late sensei behind Naruto, while he uttered some words that he had not heard for many years. Well done, Nagato. A treacherous tear ran down the red-haired Uzumaki's cheek. Before dying and reuniting with Yahiko, the Uzumaki spoke his last words in their minds. Thank you, Jiraiya Sensei. Issei Hyodo was bawling his eyes out. How could he not? What he saw broke his heart into millions of pieces. So Nagato was not a villain after all, he was just a man who lost the path of good. Said Michael, he deserved a second chance. I hope he gets eternal peace. War can corrupt even the purest soul. Nagato was a victim of that. Serafal said sadly. She had seen many good people change sides due to pain. Well done, Naruto-chan. You even made the man who murdered your sensei return to the right path. Without a doubt you can create miracles, Naruto. Yusaka said with a tear of pride on her cheek. You are truly the man I felt for. Otu-sama, said Kuno with her eyes widen of amazement of her father forgiving the villain. While in Konoha, the home of the Uzumaki family. In the main room of the Uzumaki complex, two figures could be seen. Both were naked, and were only covered by the fine silk sheets that they had in the room. These people were Naruto Uzumaki and his wife Hinata Uzumaki. After the events of the failed Chunin exams, and also being the failed invasion of the Otsutsuki, and many other problems, they finally had peace in Konoha village. When he finally had free time, Naruto did what he had not done in months, make love to his beautiful wife. The person he fell in love with several years ago, the woman who he went to rescue on the moon from a lunatic who wanted to force her to marry her against her will. He loved her. After a long time he realized that he couldn't live without her. Hinata gave him what he always wanted in her life, a happy family, a son that was a clone of him, a beautiful and loving princess. His life was perfect, it was worth so many sacrifices after all, because now he was happy. I love you, Yusaka-chan. The seventh Hokage blinked in surprise. Where had that come from? He had never said, I love you, to another woman besides Hinata. Naruto didn't know it, but very soon things would change in Konoha, much more than they had already changed before. In the Uzumaki household, the home of the Nonodime Hokage, the one who was and is still recognized as the hero of the shinobi world, and the family was preparing for a new day. Himawari Uzumaki, the youngest daughter of Naruto Uzumaki and Hinata Hyuga, was at a tough crossroads. What could she do? The decision was very difficult to make. On the little girl's bed you could see a pink blouse and a purple blouse. Yes, the little princess Uzumaki's. Crossroads was which of the two blouses to wear today. Himawari did not want to bother her mother with such a small problem. She once asked her father, but he told her that everything looked perfect in her. And her older brother Boruto would say that the colors are very silly and would surely find her a black and red blouse, her older brother's favorite combination after all. While Himawari Ued with her personal problem of which blouse to choose, under the blue-haired girl's bed a small animal emerged. At most it was about 30 centimeters tall, it had abundant intense orange fur, but its most notable feature was its long, fluffy 9 tails that stood proudly. In his time he was feared as the strongest Biju, a being made of pure hatred that only destroyed everything in his path, the one who caused the destruction of Konoha on 2 different occasions. Curiously, both were the fault of a respective Uchiha. Yes, it was the Kyuubi no Yoko, now better known as Kurama, Naruto Uzumaki's faithful companion in arms. Even the Konoha village now considered Kurama a war hero just like Naruto. Thanks to time, his mentality of humans changed, due to peace, and that someone finally took the time to explain to everyone how the Biju were created. The common humans or shinobi understood that the fear of chakra beings was stupid. The Bijus had always wanted to live in peace, but it was humans' stubbornness and ambition that took them out of their peace to use them in war, so humans mistakenly feared those beings who were never guilty of anything. But today, years after the Fourth Shinobi World War, the shinobis could call the Biju their companions, and Kurama could go out into the center or outside of Konoha village freely, without causing fear or feeling that he was rejected. But how could Kurama get out of Naruto's seal? Well, it was simple. Just as Naruto used the shadow clones to collect natural energy while the original fought, well, Kurama copied the idea and simplified it. The fox created with Naruto's help a clone made purely of natural energy, and while the original was in the seal sleeping, the clone received Thoth, the legendary 9-tailed Biju. Really, it was that simple. Kurama tried to leave quietly without attracting the attention of the little Uzumaki. The kitsune knew that if she found him he would be used as a stuffed animal all day by the little infant. Ra-chan, the strongest Biju, broke out in a cold sweat when called by his best friend's daughter. You will help me, right, Kura-chan? Quickly, Himawari took little Kurama into her arms and asked again, should I choose pink or purple? How do you want me to know that, brat? The little kitsune replied to the youngest of the Uzumaki, I am the strongest Biju, I don't have time to waste in simple human clothing. But the fox couldn't finish saying as he felt how he was squeezed tightly between the arms of the blue-haired infant and the air was slowly leaving his body. The pink. Choose the pink one at once. The one who long ago was feared by his enemies, hated by the world, now he was the personal stuffed animal of the little princess Uzumaki Hyuga, and although Kurama is frequently disowned, the kitsune loved his best friend's offspring too much. No, he doesn't show it on his face, but he did not hide the fact that his favorite was and always will be Himawari. And no, it had nothing to do with the fact that the little girl secretly bought him dozens of chocolate cookies and ate them in a large bowl in hot milk. That had no influence at all. Who would have imagined that in the You're the feared Kyuubi no Yoko would be tamed by a little 10-year-old girl? Thank you, Kura-chan. Himawari rubbed her cheek on the little kitsune's fur. You earned the cookies, I love you so much. HMPH, Kurama snorts. Getting out of the little infant's arms, Don't forget that now I like the ones that come with extra chocolate better. Down to the main dining room. Naruto Uzumaki was sitting in the dining room of his home. His beloved wife was finishing preparing breakfast. Something that Naruto loved was seeing the permanent smile on Hinata's face. It made her look more radiant than she already was, and he loved that a lot. His eldest son, Boruto Uzumaki, was sitting in front of his father, apparently playing a new video game that his friend Denki lent him. Things between Naruto and Boruto had changed after the attack by the Otsutsuki. They had gone back to how they were before Naruto became Hokage, and although neither of them said it so as not to bring back bad memories, they both loved that everything had happened. Returning to naturalness. Hey Dad, can I ask you a question? Naruto looked at his son briefly. Boruto rarely sounded so strange. With nothing to lose, the older blonde nodded. See, how do I put it? Have you ever heard voices in your head? Naruto raised an eyebrow in surprise. Frankly, he didn't expect his eldest son to ask that. Well, yes, I have heard Kurama's voice since I was a teenager, and I still hear it. Each claim is recorded in my mind. The shinobi hero laughed lightly. I heard you, Naruto. Kurama exclaimed, arriving at the main dining room. It's serious, Dad. Boruto ignored the argument between his father and the now little nine-tailed fox. Have you done it or not? Well, only the voice of the Biju. Since when have you heard that voice? Now it was Naruto's turn to ask. You know what, it's better to forget it. Maybe it's just because I've been working a lot lately. Boruto sighed and downplayed the matter. I'll still ask Sasuke-sensei later. Hey, how pathetic you are, Naruto. Your son seeks advice from your rival because his father is a moron. The years go by, but the taunts that Kurama made to Naruto were something they would never stop hearing. Shut your mouth, you furball, mumbled the blue-eyed blonde. At least I'm not a stuffed animal that you hug to sleep. After that they both roared at each other. Neither would give in to the other. What a beautiful friendship they had forged between them. Stop fighting among yourselves. Hinata interrupted their discussion. As always, she was the voice of reason in the Uzumaki mansion. Another argument and the both of you are left without breakfast. Seeing how they ignored her, the blue-haired girl activated her Byakugan and returned to ask, have I been clear? Faced with the threat, both the Jinchuriki and Biju responded in unison. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Himawari came down wearing a cute pink blouse, personally chosen by Kurama, sat at the table and the whole family began to eat breakfast. A quiet morning, right? Well, none of them expected the outcome that hours later occurred in the Konoha village. Without a doubt it was something that would change their lives forever. Unknown dimension. So peace reigned after Pain's attack. The leader of heaven, the angel Michael, came to that conclusion when he saw the outcome of said invasion, or am I wrong? Yes. After that something happened that changed the shinobi world forever. Hagoromo Otsutsuki raised his staff and new images appeared. The Fourth Shinobi World War began. After the fierce battle that the people of Konoha waged against Pain, the then apparent leader of Akatsuki, the entire village thought that peace was already a fact, that everything was over, but in reality, it had only just begun. Danzo, who had stolen the title as Tsunade's replacement, the Gondime Hokage, attended a summit held by Raikage, the purpose of which was to take action against Akatsuki, which was beginning to be a serious problem for the elemental nations. Sasuke Uchiha, the last living Uchiha, arrived at the Cage Summit to destroy Konoha's representative, Danzo. Sasuke declared his hatred towards the shinobi world, showed his bloodlust and achieved his goal, to take down the corrupt Danzo, the leader of Root. But that didn't end there. Team number 7 met again, not in the conditions they would have wanted years ago. Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha, they had all seen each other's faces. A small fight between Naruto and Sasuke began in that same place. The fight did not last too long due to Sasuke's fatigue and Naruto's lack of desire to fight. If one of the two fights seriously, you know what will happen, right? Naruto Uzumaki, the hero of Konoha, told his former co-comrade, one of the two. Naruto looked down at him with regret. He will die irremediably. They both knew the fate that this battle would unleash, but still, it was inevitable. They did not know it, but their own souls were destined to fight among themselves for many hundreds of years. Some of the audience had their eyes wide upon hearing that destiny that one of them will die in battle. I will destroy Konoha with my own hands. Naruto. Sasuke closed his eyes. After all, his vision was already black and there was no reason to have his eyeballs open. What will you do when I wins, Naruto? The blonde Uzumaki sighed full of regret, even though he didn't want to say what he would say next, he knew it was his duty to do so. If you decide to attack Konoha, if you return to the village with clear intentions to cause fear, panic and destruction, then I, Naruto clenched his right fist very tightly, I will stop you with everything I have, Dadbeo. There was nothing more to say, everything had been said. The war between them as well as the entire shinobi world, had been declared. Because officially, even with 4 of the 5 cages present, the true leader of Akatsuki had declared, the 4th shinobi world war. Wait a minute. This guy is the true leader Akatsuki? Asked Rias. He must been hiding in the shadows while his men were doing his dirty work, said Sona, disgusted by the man's action. Days after, Naruto had to learn to use all his power, not just the chakra that Sennin mode gave him. No, if he wanted to win and save the world he would need more than that. His main dut. Why was to once and for all master the Kyubi no Yoku's chakra. Kill B, that was the name of the Jinchuriki of Hachibi. An adult man, somewhat chubby but incredibly even though they were from a foreign village, he treated them very kindly while pronouncing bad rap lyrics, but aside from that small fact, B took Naruto to the Waterfall of Truth, a sacred place where the darkness of your heart was revealed. Naruto always thought that his heart was free of hate and darkness, but when he looked at the Waterfall of Truth, he knew that he was very wrong. A dark and harmful version of himself appeared before him. That version, or as he called it, Dark Naruto, was what he could have seen himself become if his loved ones had not given him their hand. They fought several times, but each time Naruto ended up defeated. Why? Just because his techniques and skills were the same. If that was the case, he didn't feel he wouldn't have to lose but rather be in a tie. He was just a negative version of himself. It's not like he had any feelings of his own. Yes, that word, when Naruto said that word in his mind, he realized what he had to do next. You are without a doubt the person I would have ended up becoming. I wasn't going to fight anymore, it wasn't worth doing. I had people who extended their hand to me, people who considered me their friend, their comrade, their family. Of course there were those friends who brought him out of the darkness. That's why I know what I have to do, said Naruto to his dark counterpart. You don't know anything, you are just the mask, the false smile we always used to not show pain or fear. Dark Naruto looked at him defiantly. Deep inside you hate Konoha, you hate them for the pain they put us through. Now they treat us like heroes, but when that feeling passes, we will simply go back to being an outcast to them. Understand it once and for all. Although Naruto wanted to deny it, he knew that Dark Naruto was the representation of his fears and insecurities. And if Dark Naruto said something, it was because the real Naruto Uzumaki felt it deep in his heart. Therefore, it was clear what he had to do. After hearing Dark Naruto say, the audience then realized that this is Naruto's feeling to his own home and how mistreated he was. Oh Naruto-kun, why didn't you tell me? Said Yusaka, saddened by this revelation. How can his own village treat him like this? Said a angry Seraphal. Anger, can you take out the rationality of people? Said Gabriel. Dark Naruto created a Rasengan with all his remaining strength, and without thinking or a single second he launched himself against Naruto with clear intentions of defeating him again. On another occasion the blonde Uzumaki defended himself, but this time it was different. This time he launched himself with nothing in his hands towards his evil version in what seemed to be clearly a show of suicide. Otu-sama, yelled out Kuno upon what her father was doing. Naruto-kun, what are you doing? Yelled out Yusaka. He's gonna get himself killed, said Issei, worrying the two Kyubi and getting glared out by some of the others, making him shrink in his seat. But it wasn't that. Did Dark Naruto possess feelings? When Naruto asked himself that question, everything was clear. Naruto Uzumaki did what the owner of Ichiraku Ramen and the old Hokage did for him long ago. Yes, Naruto Uzumaki, he gave Dark Naruto a big hug. A hug full of hope. What? Said most of the audience. Expect for Gabriel. What is he doing? Thought Gabriel. Dark Naruto was the representation of Naruto Uzumaki's dark feelings. It was the reflection of everything that Naruto once feared and hated. Perhaps Naruto Uzumaki knew the light, but in doing so his negative version was locked in oblivion, completely isolated. Yin and yang. That was all. There was no black or white. His soul was made up of both energies, and as a consequence, neither could be stronger than the other. There had to be a perfect balance between them, since without light there is no darkness, or vice versa. Upon feeling the hug given by Naruto Uzumaki, Dark Naruto began to cry. He cried like the 8-year-old Naruto Uzumaki did in his time. He cried until he let out his most terrible fears. That's your answer? Dark Naruto asked seriously, without even breaking the hug he had received. Will you risk it again? Will you confirm with them again? You and I are one. I'm really sorry. I deeply regret having pushed you aside. I know that my words won't change the facts, but Naruto tightened the hug he gave his counterpart. A counterpart that was beginning to disappear into hundreds of particles of white energy. I will never return to. Dark Naruto looked at his counterpart and did what he never thought of doing. Thank you. And with those last words as proof, Naruto Uzumaki once again achieved the impossible. He eliminated the darkness that lived in his heart. No, it's more than that. That child achieved the perfect balance in his aura. To say that Odin, the father of all, was not impressed would be telling a cruel lie. The god of Asgard admired with his own eyes what he had not seen for millennia. That child achieved what only a god is capable of doing, balancing good and evil, achieving peace between yin and yang, but for him who is human, such control of his aura is impossible. Faced with the words spoken by the wisest being among the members of the DXD universe, the others only looked in amazement at the recent achievement of the child of prophecy. That was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. Seraphal Leviathan burst into celebration. It's better than any anime or live-action series. Accepting the darkness in your heart, not eliminating it but accepting it and becoming one with it, is so incredible. Quote, and Seraphal was still Seraphal after all. What Naruto Uzumaki did is more than it seems. To everyone's surprise, it was Seraph Gabriel who spoke. I see it, I don't know how. But I can see the soul of that man. Gabriel's eyes shone slightly, so much so that she transmitted a certain sacred air to others. His soul simply is, perfect. Perfect. A simple word that represented more than it seemed. Lucifer fell because of that. Michael spoke up. My older brother was so noble, but at the same time so greedy. His soul was not capable of having a balance. No matter how hard he tried, it was impossible. Even after thousands of years, talking about his older brother was still difficult for him, but Naruto Uzumaki achieved what Lucifer could not do. He accepted the darkness in his heart. He did not run away from it, but he hugged her and they became one. Naruto Uzumaki, he achieved the perfect balance. The others just remained silent. They wanted to give their opinion, but they felt that they were not worthy to do so at that moment, since that man's exploits became more legendary with each passing minute. The battle that had to happen since his birth finally happened. Naruto and Kyuubi crashed into each other. The Sennin mode stood up to the dark chakra of the strongest Biju. All the memories they both possessed passed through each other's minds. Naruto's childhood, the disdain of the village, the hatred of its inhabitants, but despite that, fighting the Kyuubi didn't feel like Naruto would have expected. He always wanted to fight the nine-tailed fox, make him pay for everything he had suffered, but now that he had the chance, he wouldn't know how to describe it, except that he felt so empty. Who'd say? The Kyuubi look at his tenant seriously. Against everything I thought, you have become a little stronger than before, but you are still that pathetic crying child that you were as a child. The Kyuubi opened its jaws ready to end everything. It's over. Naruto. Not yet. Hairball. The Kyuubi recognized that voice immediately, and in less than a second hundreds of chakra chains emerged from the ground and forced him back completely. You will not lay a finger on my son Databane. A beautiful woman appeared in front of them, with long, glorious crimson-red hair, as crimson as blood itself. Kushina Uzumaki, he mother of the child of prophecy, had appeared in the middle of the battle. So this is Naruto's mother. Now I see where you get your tick from, said Yusaka. That's my grandma. She's beautiful. I wish I had red hair like her, said Kuno. Perhaps the Grimoalated, said Sirzex, though what he said was just a jest. Minutes later, just as it was with Minato Namikaze, the beautiful redhead managed to meet her son, hug him lovingly and kiss his forehead with much love. Kushina told him about her own childhood, about the attempted kidnapping that Kumo tried to do with her and also how she met her husband. But above all, she told him about the day of his birth, about how she and Minato gave everything so that nothing would happen to him. How they sacrificed their lives so that the result of their love could see a new dawn. Naruto learned two things from that. 1. He already knew why Shikamaru and Choji were afraid of their respective mothers. 2. He undoubtedly had the best parents in the entire world. The truth is I'm not very good with words, I always end up confusing everything and complicating things, like when I want pork ramen but I end up ordering miso ramen. Naruto without realizing it was confirming his own words with his own arguments, but as for what I am sure is that I have the best friends, some faithful companions and above all that, the best parents in the world. Dadbeo. Kushina's body was disappearing just as her husband, Minato, did. Naruto. I really regret with all my heart that I wasn't there when you were cold or afraid, when you needed a hug or a simple kiss on the cheek. I don't know if I can call myself your mother since I left you when you needed me most, but Kushina. She was crying very sadly at having to say goodbye to her son again. I love you with all my heart. Databane. A hug was what confirmed what they both felt. A loving embrace between mother and son was enough for Naruto and Kushina to feel the deep love that each felt for the other. I will eat a lot of vegetables, I will sleep well and I will start studying seriously. Naruto dried his tears and looked with conviction at his mother. I will give 200%, no, 1000% in everything I do to never disappoint your father, because then he made his now characteristic smile, I will become the Orange Hokage of Konoha. Dadbeo. It was there that Kushina Uzumaki knew. Life gave her the best son she could have ever wanted. He was perfect, simply perfect. Never give up and fulfill all your dreams. I love you. Databane. Yusaka and Kuno were happy that Naruto was able to meet his mother for the first and last time. Though some of audience had some tears rolling out their eyes. So beautiful, said Gabriel, able to feel the mother's love her son. Minutes later, thanks to his mother, Naruto Uzumaki managed to break his limits again. The power he thought was gone returned, and with the last traces of chakra that Kushina left in her diamond chains, Naruto managed to impact 100 of Odama Rasengan into the Kyubi no Yoko. Thus achieving victory, obtaining the power of the strongest Biju. Power that was represented by a new transformation, the chakra th. At long ago was as black as hatred itself, had now been purified thanks to Naruto's heart, and because of that it achieved a new color. The resplendent golden flash of hope, that Tobi, Madara and their people were alert, because Naruto Uzumaki would arrive on the battlefield. He is a Super Saiyan. How did he manage to become a Super Saiyan? Said Irina, who could not hide her astonishment at all. Irina, could you please calm down? Michael asked her, which she complied. Otu-sama is amazing, said Kuno, who couldn't get enough of watching her father's wonderful adventures. That power, Naruto feels like he was a true Yukai, you never cease to amaze me, said Yusaka, who was able to feel his chakra. Is he really a Super Saiyan? Asked Issei. I don't think so, Issei, it's just the representation of his new power. But I doubt he's a Super Saiyan because first and foremost they don't exist, said Rias. Naruto and B arrived at the battlefield. They fought against Tobi and his Biju in their first state. The battle was tough, but they, being practically two perfect Jinchurikis, managed to face the enemy with great difficulty. But despite that, luck smiled on them. Kakashi Hata, Kei and Maeda Guy emerged onto the battlefield. Naruto smiled happily as he looked at his sensei and Seihota's sensei at his side. As he learned from his shadow clones, the Shinobi Alliance had managed to seal almost all the dangerous shinobi revived by the Edo Tensei. It was a relief to know that the 5 great villages had finally united for a goal that would benefit the shinobi world. Perhaps this was the beginning of the peace that Jiraiya dreamed of. But returning to the battlefield, everything got worse when Tobi turned the revived Jinchurikis into the Biju in their tailed beast form. If it was difficult before, now it was almost impossible. B was starting to get tired, and how could he not? The brunette had been deflecting Biju Dama one after another for several minutes now. There saint be something I can do, the blonde Uzumaki thought, with clear intentions of never throwing in the towel. Naruto subconscious. What's happening? Naruto wondered, then surprised to see how he was out in front of the strongest Biju. What do you want now? I'm sorry to tell you that I'm not in the mood to talk, the ugly guy outside wants to kill us right now. This is bad no matter which way you look at it, and let me tell you. You are a disaster, said the Biju. Idiot, you'll see that I'll get out of this, just give me a minute, replied Naruto. If you want me to lend you some power, I wouldn't mind doing it, Naruto, replied back the Biju. Naruto was exhausted, his breathing was labored and the cold sweat did not stop falling from his forehead. I see that lately you've been a little more talkative with me," said the blonde Uzumaki while smiled weakly. "I appreciate that you want to pass me some of your chakra, but before that, I must do something that I should have done a long time ago." Naruto turned and looked at the fearsome fox of the 9 tails. "Thank you for helping me earlier, Kyubi." The Kyubi looked at him with slight irritation. "Don't thank me so much. You're irritating me, idiot." The loudest Biju roared. "I've been giving you chakra for years and now you thank me. Save that for later. I only gave you chakra because I preferred to be in here than go with that Madara. What's more, it was just to pass the time, brat. Why the hell are you getting irritated when I'm thanking you?" Naruto complained, offended. "You don't have to always look at me with that look. At least you could change your attitude towards me a little. You are always." The audience were laughing with chuckling at the scene before them. "Oh, these two are always fighting with each other," said Yusaka, who remembers that these two always argue with each other all the time. Then the audience started quieting down after they saw what was happening next. But Naruto fell silent when he saw the Kyubi's outstretched fist in front of him. "Unite your chakra with mine. Are we going to play tug of war with the chakra again?" But the Kyubi's look was all Naruto needed to see to understand what the strongest Biju wanted to give him. All these years, they had always fought with each other, always argued and cursed each other. But now, right at that moment, things had completely changed. A foxy smile emerged on Naruto's lips, a smile that was copied by the Kyubi the moment they both collided their fists for the first time. "Why don't they approve me? It's true, I don't approve of monsters like that. But you know, Naruto is different. He tries harder than others, and even though in the end he ends up ruining everything, he always gets up and tries again. Iruka-sensei, do you know why he does it? Because Naruto Uzumaki, he's a shinobi from Konoha. The talk he had with his first teacher came to mind for some reason. That day he was recognized and obtained his Hitai 8 for the first time." The audience gave a smile when they saw Iruka on the screen being the reason why Naruto became a ninja. "Thank you, Iruka, for accepting my husband," said Yusaka, who remembers Naruto. Usually talking about said to the 9-tailed Biju, "You are no longer that fearsome monster that everyone was fleeing from. The seal that his father had placed began to be quickly removed. You are no longer that being, because you are now a Konoha's ally and my faithful companion." Kurama. Their chakras merged, and for the first time since the beginning of the story, the perfect Jinchuriki of the Kyubi no Yoko, the one who achieved a bond of friendship with the strongest Biju, had been born. "Let's give it our all, Kurama," yelled out Naruto. "Yeah," also yelled out by Kurama. Outside, a huge Kyubi no Yoko made of golden chakra emerged on the battlefield. The power of Naruto and Kurama had finally become one. Their hearts were united by their newly born bond of brotherhood. Now, right at this moment, the Fourth Shinobi War had taken a great turn of events. Among all my children, it was Kurama who suffered the most from humanity. Because he was the strongest, he was feared. From the beginning, always treated as a weapon, he reached a point where he isolated himself from everyone, but Madara Uchiha found and then controlled him to fight with Hashirama, said the Rakudo Sennin. Though he did not hide the smile that he now had on his face, he always knew that the child of prophecy would make all his children unite again, and seeing how the events turned out made him feel proud. So he didn't tame the Kyubi, but became his friend. Michael meditated on the words of the Rakudo Sennin. First he accepts the darkness in his heart and then he forgives and befriends the being that caused him so much suffering. Naruto-kun has a very noble soul. His power increased again. That must be a true complete Jinchuriki, befriending the tailed beast, becoming one and merging both chakras, simply wonderful. "I wish I could study them," said Ijuku, really wishing that he could study on them. It is almost, if not the same as a sacred gear. When both users join together they achieve balance breaker. "Fascinating," said Azazel. "Look, Okasama, those golden flames are the same as the ones I sometimes bring out when I train," KUNOU said as she pointed to the figure of her father. Everyone present looked at the little girl in amazement. "What did you just say? Can you use that energy?" Sirzex asked the princess of Kyoto. KUNOU tilted her head slightly before answering. "Not like Otu-sama. Sometimes when I'm training and I'm very tired my wounds heal with those golden flames, although I always thought it was Yukai fire," the little fox explained. "I never knew where that power came from." It is clear that KUNOU does not know how to use it and barely uses it unconsciously, perhaps being 50% Yukai. The chakra inherited by Naruto merged with mine and is a consequence she was able to wake up a new representation of chakra. Yusaka said to those present. The Princess Yukai inherited Naruto Uzumaki's chakra. The power of her father served as an impulse to take the chakra that the Yukai of her dimension possessed to another level. As I said recently, that girl is a diamond in the rough, said Hagoromo. The faction leaders silently analyzed, if KUNOU met her father and had trained her in the near future, she would have the level that her father now possessed. Thank God there was peace now. Naruto pushed back the Jinchurikis controlled by Tobi. He had a brief fight between the two and Toba's identity was revealed. To Kakashi's surprise and shock, the man named Tobi was his former teammate, one believed dead for many years, Obito Uchiha. According to Obito, he was rescued by Madara Uchiha and was always the true leader from the shadows. Kakashi, in a moment of fury, launched himself at Obito and both disappeared using the Kamui that possessed both of their Sharingan. Then came the arrival of Madara Uchiha, but he was not the only one who arrived. The Shinobi Alliance finally arrived at the front of the battlefield and together they faced the fearsome Jubi that had been released. The Kages who were dead had been revived through Orochimaru's Edo Tensei, but above all that, there was an unexpected return that surprised the remaining members of Team Number 7. Sasuke Uchiha, the one who betrayed his people years ago to go with the Sannin of the Serpents, the one who left everything behind, had returned to join the alliance and beat his ancestor, Madara Uchiha. A new battle begins. Obito returned and transformed into the Jinchuriki of the Jubi, and as a result, in the second Rakuto Sennin, the alliance fell again and many more died. But they rose again, and miraculously Naruto managed to bring back the Obito from before, the boy he wanted to become, at Hokage, and in doing so, they managed to snatch the Jubi from him and briefly win. But it didn't all end there. Madara Uchiha was revived using the Rinnegan and in doing so absorbed the Jubi, becoming his new Jinchuriki and apparently killing both Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha in the process. While the heroes had fallen, hope fell on one person, and said person was none other than the green beast of Konoha. The 8 open doors, Maida Guy exclaimed with great force, his most powerful technique. The son of the man who was considered the eternal genin, he faced the so-called shinobi god. Guy employed every technique he had developed since his childhood, every skill he had perfected over the years. Guy was someone who from the beginning was considered useless. He couldn't use ninjutsu like the others. He used it, but his level was so low that it was practically non-existent. His chakra was low and the only thing he excelled at was taijutsu. But it was precisely thanks to that curse that Guy became so strong. He trained not 10, but 100 times more than others. While he ate he read new techniques, while he rested he thought about new skills, and while he trained he left sweat, blood and tears on the training field just to break his limits. Now he's turning Super Saiyan, yelled Issei while the rest of the audience had their mouth open and eyes widen. Guy, you, his rival, Kakashi Hatake admired his best friend's willpower. Since I was a child I looked at you and thought you were an idiot, a good for nothing, but you never threw in the towel. Kakashi never told him, but since Obito's apparent death, the white-haired ninja looked more closely at the shinobi with the big eyebrows and realized that Guy was trying 100 times harder than anyone else. I still remember the day I met you. It was when they were children, the day the Shinobi Academy started. That day Kakashi and his father were on their way to the Shinobi Academy. They both crossed paths with Guy and his father, and Hakumo Hatake asked them to be friends. Guy's father said it would be impossible because his son had been rejected at the academy, but he stated that his son would undoubtedly be a great shinobi in the future. Kakashi thought upon hearing that this child was nothing special, that he was just one of the crowd, but then his father told him, Kakashi, be sure to ask him his name. At the academy they are not stupid and that child will become very strong in the future. With disdain Kakashi listened to his father and asked, hey, you, what's your name? Guy looked at him and took a few seconds to respond, but when he did he smiled spontaneous. Leon exclaimed with great confidence, Maida Guy, the man who will be the strongest of all. Yes, that was the response of that boy who had been rejected many years ago, that boy who grew up to become a man who would not hesitate for a second to give his life for the well-being of his people. It's just like my father said, you became the strongest, Guy, said Kakashi. A kind of dragon was formed. This beast represented the vital energy of Maida Guy. Is his energy turning into a dragon? Man, I wish I can study on this world some more, said Azazel, really wishing to explore and study this dimension. With that chakra I recognize it. When it comes to taijutsu, never fight anyone who had the same strength as you. Madara Uchiha revealed to the green beast of Konoha and yelled out, proclaim you the strongest of all. Guy launched himself at Madara using the strongest technique in his arsenal. The man stood up to the shinobi god. There was so much Guy's power that if Madara were not the Jinchuriki of the Jubi, Guy would have won. Since Madara survived, it was only thanks to the regenerative factor that the Jubi gave him. But then the sacrifice of the 8 gates arrived. Guy's body collapsed on the destroyed ground and seemed about to become extinct. Madara, as a form of recognition, wanted to destroy him by throwing a Gudo Dama at him before the side effects did so, but then the blonde-haired hero reappeared. Naruto forcefully kicked the Gudo Dama thrown by Madara and returned it directly to him. Impacted, surprised, stunned. That man, Maida Guy, is surprising, the heir of the Bale clan, even without having talent. He never gave up and managed with pure force of will to fight at the same level as that monster. I will try harder from now on. Saraorg Bale stated with utmost admiration. It was no surprise to anyone that Guy's exploits would impact young Saraorg deeply. After all, their condition was practically the same. Maida Guy is a true hero. I am grateful that there are still people with such good heart, and my father would be happy to see this, said Michael. Who knew? The faction leaders were in admiration of the green beast of Konoha. The blonde had somehow returned to life, and after saving Guy, Naruto faced Madara with a lot of fury in his eyes. What are you going to do? I already defeated you before, why do you think things are different now? Madara asked him mockingly. Because I'm not going to defeat you alone, we're going to give you a beating, Sasuke. Naruto said while being surrounded by a newly acquired new power, the Rakudo mode. Suku Uchiha appeared at his side, and like Naruto, with a new power, Sasuke now possessed the Rinnegan in his left eye. You're going to fall, Madara, Sasuke declared seriously. So one obtained the power of the Rakudo Sennin and the other his eyes. Madara said, extremely surprised. Well, although I possess both powers. The Uchiha Jinchuriki flew to the sky and proclaimed, this will be the last battle. Naruto-kun, please be careful, said Yusaka. Otu-sama, be safe, said Kuno, worried for her father's well-being. I wonder how powerful this guy is, I want to fight him, said Valley, getting a what look from others. Team number 7 faced Madara Uchiha with all their power. The increase in energy that Naruto and Sasuke received helped the battle balance, and they had at least a minimal chance of victory. But then everything got worse. Madara Uchiha absorbed the tree god, and what no one thought would happen happened. The strongest Uchiha was sacrificed by the will of the tree god to bring back to life the first ninjutsu user in history. Kagaya Otsutsuki, the mother of the Rakudo Sennin, the rabbit goddess and mistress of all the chakra that existed, in short, the strongest enemy to defeat. The difference in power was clear. Kagaya was capable of defeating both Naruto and Sasuke on her own, but the rabbit goddess did not approach directly, since the respective seals in the hands of both Ing people had the power to seal her again, as did her 2 sons millennia ago, whose reincarnation was none other than Naruto and Sasuke. When they saw the screen of Kagaya, they felt her presence and fear took hold on them. So this is what people feel when a god looks down on them, thought Odin with his hands shaking and his face sweating. In a moment of assault, Kagaya sent them to a dimension where the gravity was increased 100 times that of the earth. None of them were able to move, and using that to her advantage, Kagaya sent 2 stakes to pulverize the only shinobi capable of defeating her. But she did not have the strength of a woman who had died several years ago. Rin, Kakashi and Obito's teammates somehow returned in spirit form and helped her teammates get back on their feet. Kakashi and Obito stood in front of Naruto and Sasuke respectively, with the clear intention of sacrificing themselves for both young men, but Obito had another plan, using the remaining power he possessed. He invoked the Kamui for the last time, and with that he managed to make the stake that would impact disappear in Kakashi's chest, while he directly received his own and died in the arms of the On. Who was his eternal rival and best friend. Obito may have been a villain, but he was also a child who possessed the same dream as the child of prophecy, a dream that was stained by Madara, but despite that in the last moments of his life, Obito Uchiha managed to redeem his path and save the shinobi world in a certain way. This will be the last mission of Team 7, declared the Jonin, Kakashi Hatake to his former students. Come on, let's defeat Kagaya. Team 7 used their last trump card. Do you know what it was? Yes, Exactly that, teamwork. Man, I want to fight Sasuke, said Valley. Ryu, insane, you were just shitting yourself moments ago, yelled out Issei. Still want to fight him, murmured Valley. I plan to murder a particular person, the boy I like, well. My dream, for the future, I'm going to become Hokage Dadbao. Kakashi, with the help of Obito's ghost, managed to briefly obtain the full Sharingan and summon a Susanoo with which he launched the pink-haired team member into the sky. Naruto and Sasuke rushed forward with all their strength, ready to seal Kagaya once and for all, but the goddess was faster and tried to fly higher to avoid them, but she forgot the female member of the team who was in the sky, and using all her strength in her right fist she punched the rabbit goddess hard, forcing her to come down, and as a result, being sealed by the reincarnations of Asura and Indra. Kakashi looked with pride at the achievements of the first team that he approved, the achievements of those noisy children that he guided several years ago. Jonin couldn't help but shed a tear of happiness when he saw how, with teamwork, they had managed to defeat the most powerful enemy. I love you guys. They did it, they defeated that god. With teamwork they defeated an enemy that would have been impossible for anyone to do. Yusaka said, full of admiration. They are incredible. I feel a little jealous, but I must say that they are incredible. Rias said, seeing how young people who at that time were her age already possessed such an amount of power. That woman could use the dimensions as if it were a game. Not even the gods of the top 10 can do that. If we use logic, Kagaya is stronger than the gods of the top 10. Azazel said, wanting to delve deeper into the topic. It is likely that she can fight calmly with Ophis. I don't know about the Great Red because no one knows what the extent of his power is, but that he can fight with Ophis he can. Odin stated as if nothing had happened. So the Otsutsuki can take the dimensions and make them theirs. That's a bit unfair, said Irina, with her Xenovia agreeing with her. Look, Naruto-san will fight Sasuke-san again, said the silver-haired Valkyrie as she pointed to the new images. Did you see what just happened? Naruto, if we simply sit back and the war returns, we must take action on the matter, and if one of us must become the villain, then so be it. That is what being a Hokage means to me. Obtaining absolute control, the Uchiha declared. I don't know what to tell you, but I know you're wrong. Being Hokage is many things, but it's not what you think. A man told me a while ago, it is not Hokage who is recognized by people, it is he who is recognized who becomes Hokage. The blonde Uzumaki replied back. Naruto and Sasuke fought again, punches, kicks and even ninja arsenal. Both were fighting with everything so as not to regret it later. Hours passed and his chakras were practically at zero. But before they fell from exhaustion, both Naruto and Sasuke used their now favorite techniques. The Rasengan with the will of fire impacted again with the Chidori that possessed the curse of hatred, after the Impacity Black. No one knew how, but somehow the souls of both came into sync and each one saw the other's life, including the emotions and feelings that each one had experienced since childhood. Upon seeing such images, Sasuke realized his mistake. He saw that his motives, although they would be effective and that in some way they would achieve peace, he saw that it was the wrong way to do it, and thanks to Naruto Uzumaki, to the blonde who considered his brother, the last Uchiha, forever and definitively abandoned the curse of hatred that Indra had founded and became unique with the will of fire that Hagoromo Otsutsuki founded thousands of years ago and inherited by his youngest son Asura. Everything had ended. The fights that the children of the Rakudo Sennin started had ended. For the first time in history, both brothers were happy again. They ended the curse of their ancestors. Sirzex murmured slowly. Ha 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 ha, those children are worth it. One seeks peace through dialogue and the other through force. I can already see that Konoha will not have a single leader, but two of them. The father of all said. What do you mean, Odin-sama? Asked the fourth daughter of the Phoenix clan. I am not a fortune teller, but I am someone who obtained the title of wise man. In Konoha there will be two Hokages, one who transmits peace, that is, Naruto, and another who watches over the town from the outside, that is, Sasuke. Other governments would fail if they used that unorthodox method, but something tells me that they too will make it work. Odin explained to the little phoenix. Oka-sama, why doesn't Otu-sama have an arm? Said Kuno. Yu, whose voice had a slight whimper to it. Don't worry, Kuno, I'm sure they'll remedy it somehow, he always does, right? Said Yusaka, who tenderly hugged her little princess. It's true, the Yukai princess agreed. Otu-sama is the best. Personally I am proud of both heirs. I always thought that the cycle would repeat itself over and over again forever, but thanks to them that ended. And finally the souls of my children achieved the eternal rest that they always deserved, said Hagoromo. So are we done now? Although if you want to show us something later, this is better than the adult cinema movies. Azazel asked, don't you like the superhero genre? I adore Tom Holland, he is so tender in his role as Spider-Man. Asked Seraphal. I said adult movies, I'm already bored of the pizza delivery man who arrives at the pool and meets the owner's wife, emphasized Azazel to the Malleviathan. For God's sake, Azazel. Everyone present reproached him, well, everyone except Odin and the current Securite. The next entire scenario was becoming more and more monotonous than before. The castle, the fine walls made by artistic hands, broke with each impact made by the power of B. Both young descendants of the clan that originated the Sage of the Six Paths. The two-color energies of the blonde ninja and the albino possessed a force of presence so pure and structurally visible and by simply bringing it out to the outside, it reduced matter with less force to just simple particles of dust. Oh my lord, look at all the damage, yelled out Zenobia. I wonder what's causing all this, thought Odin calmly. Fall once and for all, Uzumaki. The voice that clearly conveyed annoyance spoke loudly as he demanded. That's how it is. Naruto Uzumaki, the #1 ninja to surprise people. The one who today is considered the hero of the Fourth Great Ninja War, is the one with whom the albino was fighting so hard. Fall, you say fall, yelled the son of the Yellow Lightning who Asloshish owed the same suicidal fury that characterized his mother, the Blood Havana. Why do you care so much? The albino, now known as Tonari Otsutsuki, demanded an answer. I saw her memories, I know that you ignored her all her life. And just 2 years ago you paid attention to her existence, now you act like you care, or do you just want to continue being a hero? You're just pretending to make other humans see you as their hero. You're trash, Uzumaki. A slight trace of mockery was heard in his speech. My daddy isn't trash, yelled Kuno. Be quiet, he made the albino's advance retreat. The audience stiffen up upon hearing his angry voice. He sounds versus very mad, said Asia who is very scared. Maybe you're right. No, actually you possess her. I ignored her for years even though she always gave her best. Frankly I behaved like the worst idiot in the world. Then, his eyes that are blue as the sky itself rested on the now acquired dojutsu by Tonari Otsutsuki. But you made her cry. Because of you she cried again like 2 years ago. He couldn't help but remember how her tears of pain and sadness came out of the girl's radiant pearl-colored eyes, and without being able to avoid it. He remembered that the last time she cried like that, was when Neji died. Someone like you, a person who only cares about his own good, a despicable being like you. The internal energy that he had inside was leaving through his body now turning into yellow chakra that now distinguished, I won't let you touch her. I won't let you look at her. I won't let you have Hinata. Showing off his pure strength, Naruto Uzumaki created a titanic arm of chakra and made it impact directly on Tonari's body, causing the albino to destroy part of his castle and come to the surface where the woman he longed for came to rescue. Hinata, he exclaimed her name with total admiration. There she was, inside a cage made of what seemed to be gold bars, was the beautiful figure of the descendant of Hamura Otsutsuki. Just wait, I'm definitely bringing you back. He yelled out. It's useless. Inside the dust that Naruto's last attack made, Tonari said with complete confidence. Hinata is mine now, she belongs to me. You better finish understanding it and get out of here, Uzumaki, he said to the Uzumaki with hate in his voice. This guy reminds me of Riser, said Rias hating to remember that damn phoenix. You'll have to force me yourself, because I won't leave, until she comes with me. Naruto smiled, showing his enemy the brilliant smile that in the past eliminated the hatred that many villains possessed in his heart. I see, Tonari was covered by a chakra similar to that of the young Uzumaki, only his was a jade green color, then perish with your resolution. A huge blah that exceeded the size of the moon itself, which by the way was the place where both adversaries fought fiercely, plummeted on the body of the son of the Yondaime Hokage, burying him underground, apparently making him visibly defeated. Naruto-kun. Inside the golden bars, Hinata's fine and melodious voice exclaimed the name of her lover. I know you can. You have always shown that destiny is nothing in front of you. You have always stood up and fought until you were tired. The Hyuga's pearly gaze admired the enormous crater where the blonde Uzumaki was now buried. Come out and defeat him once and for all, Naruto-kun. Yeah, come on Naruto, fight for your love, yelled Seraphol. Seraphol, knock it off, whispered Searsex. Why? Then she stopped speaking after she saw the glare from Yusaka. Okay, I will shut up. Seraphol immediately replied. Woman, it's useless. My last attack consumed the life of that man, Naruto Uzumaki, now he is part of the already almost destroyed, shinobi history. The albino Otsutsuki assured blindly. Now, let's pick up the ceremony where we left off. However, before you could finish his sentence, Hinata, the surprise and expectation was totally visible in Tonari's always serene countenance. The albino never expected to see what would happen next in front of him. Hundreds of shadow clones emerged from the deep crater and rose like eagles in flight towards the sky of the moon. Naruto's yellow chakra was inside in each of them, and because of that, the dark sage seemed to be illuminated by hundreds of falling stars. Then, in each of the clones of the blonde Uzumaki, the technique was created that made him become the second coming of Minato. Namer that rotated like a spiral itself was born in the palm of each of the hundreds of shadow clones. Rasengan. The voice of each of the clones exclaimed the name of the technique that represented them today and also allowed them to create hundreds of miracles in the current shinobi world. After a few seconds that seemed like thousands of minutes for the blue-eyed blonde, Tonari's figure emerged from the enormous smoke screen that his last attack created. But there was a difference. Even though the jade-green chakra covered his body and did not allow him to see his skin, the blonde realized that the Rasengan that hit him caused the expected damage. Naruto, Uzumaki, for the first time, Tonari pronounced their names with total displeasure and hatred. It is time for this to end, the moment has come where one of the two falls at once. In his hand, an enormous amount of chakra green concentrated fiercely. Die, Uzumaki. To Tonari's surprise, the blonde did not move an inch from his location. What's more, he smiled serenely and took out a piece of red cloth from his pocket that was made by the Hyuga. Still locked behind the gold bars, widen her eyes in surprise. Hinata. This time he didn't exclaim her name, he just looked at her for a few seconds and then he walked toward Tonari's attack that was forming a figure similar to that of a laser. Just wait for me a moment, shortly, we will return home. Quote, the Hyuga cried again, but this time she didn't do it out of pain or suffering. No, she cried from pure happiness as she saw how her beloved threw himself towards his rival, ready to end the fight once and for all. She feels so happy for him. Sad Gabriel, who can feel Hinata's emotions. The red cloth that Naruto had in his right hand was covered by his fist, and that same fist impacted Tonari's green energy laser. Tonari, you made a serious mistake, since from the beginning you had lost this battle. Naruto said, now running towards the front where Tonari was. Like a scarf, feelings are slowly created so that they are stronger and durable, just like a scarf. They are woven with great precision so that they transmit their warmth to the person they love. The yellow chakra of the blonde Uzumaki left his body and concentrated only on his right arm, that's why. Through a pure blow, Naruto released Tonari's energy and arrived very quickly in front of the surprised face of the albino Otsutsuki, Hinata's feelings. They were the ones that gave me victory from the beginning. Thus, Naruto's dry fist hit Tonari's skeptical face, generating a huge crater beneath them that destroyed the ground and causing the blonde Uzumaki's strength to send Homura's descendant forward. You defeated me, with a single blow, embedded in the end of a solid wall. Tonari realized the end that was now present. In his life, Holy S, he defeated him with one punch. Ada Zazel, who is a bit scared, realizing if Naruto was to know what he was thinking about Yusaka he would be dead. Why yeah, said Issei, scared as well. He arrived in front of the golden shackles that KPT the young Hyuga captive, and after strongly hitting the lock made by the albino, Hinata was free from confinement again. She didn't need another second to throw herself into the warm arms of her lover. Cling to his chest and let herself feel protected by the man who came to look for her on the very moon. Many events occurred after that, of course naming them one by one would make the flow and course of this story become somewhat tedious. But, what was important for both ninjas was what would later mark their lives forever. Many celebrate a victory with a huge toast, others with a festival, and there are many more ways. But our couple did it differently. Right in the middle of the sky, the moonlight illuminated the figure of two people, one with blonde hair carrying the second with long dark blue hair. They have struggled for years, they have experienced unimaginable losses that are impossible to replace with any possession, but somehow they have managed to move forward. Right now they were together. One took longer than the other to realize that his happiness was always in front of him, but now that he had discovered it, he would never let her go. The warm and chaste kiss they gave each other in the sky, with only the moon and the thousands of stars as faithful spectators, was the finishing touch that forever connected their paths. The paths, which should always have been together, from the beginning. So beautiful, said Asia and Ravel when they saw the stars and moon all around them while the couple each other a kiss. 10 years later, in an upper-class house you see how a beautiful woman was knitting 2 beautiful red scarves with a smile on her face, only this one was no longer for her lover but for the fruit of their love. Naruto was training on the terrace. Although he was just warming up at the moment, Konoha was snowing, which showed that they were already in the Christmas season and the New Year festivities would soon begin. Dad, 2 voices were heard from the entrance of the room. In less than 2 seconds, 2 small children emerged. The oldest was 10 years old, his appearance could be described as a mini Naruto, they had the same hair color and the same blue eyes. The only differences were that their skin tone was white and their blue eyes were a little more intense. The least was 8 years old, her hair was dark blue and she wore a cute princess hairstyle. Her skin had a white tone and she also had the same blue eyes as her father. Boruto Uzumaki, Himawari Uzumaki, the children who were born in the marriage of the hero, Naruto. Uzumaki and the princess of the Byakugan, Hinata Hyuga, the children of the Uzumaki Hyuga marriage. Play with me Dadbasa. Boruto opened the door to the terrace and threw himself at his father. To me too, Dad. Himawari followed her older brother's example and launched herself at her already fallen father. It's cold outside, put on a sweatshirt. The matriarch of the family asked them. Hey, don't make your mother angry. She's very strong Dadbayo. Naruto told them smiling. Team Naruhina triumphs. I told everyone, I have a good eye on those things. The Mao Serafal Leviathan exclaimed proudly. So she is the one you now share your life with, Naruto. Yusaka thought with mixed feelings. On one part she was happy that the love of her life found his soulmate, but the other part she was sad because she was not that soulmate he was looking for. Oka-sama. Kuno pulled on her mother's clothing. Do you love Otu-sama? Yusaka immediately understood what was happening. Kuno was confused to see how her father shared so lovingly with a family in which she was not in. Of course I love him. But your father and I are not together since we belong to 2 different dimensions. How could I explain it to you? It's like he lived in heaven and I lived on earth. Yusaka said, though she wanted her daughter to understand. I see, the princess said, and then began to think about what was and called out, Grandpa Rakudo. Yes, little princess. Asked the Rakudo Sennin. If I understand, if we go will Oka-sama be able to see Otu-sama again, right? Asked Kuno. Well, that's the idea, replied Hagoromo. Thank you, Grandpa Rakudo, said Kuno, who then turned to look at her mother, who saw her surprised by her jaw hanging down as her daughter spoke to a being who could defeat them. Quote, Oka-sama must make Otu-sama fall in love you again, he is not so difficult. I always hear how they say that Oka-sama is the most beautiful woman in Kyoto and many say that you are one of the most beautiful in the world. I even heard Mr. Azazel say that he would like to do choo-choo, although I didn't understand that last bit, said Kuno. Yusaka glared at the fallen angel and made the classic sign of, I'm going to kill you slowly, with her hands, causing the Grigori leader to instantly fear for his life. Though what Kuno was suggesting was something that only an innocent being could think, although she would be lying if she claimed that she didn't. Doing so would be to break up a family, a beautiful family, the family that Naruto had formed with that beautiful and noble woman. Now I will proceed to send you to Konoha. The reason for bringing you all was so that you could reach the elemental nations and the other could return to tell their allies about the alliance. Do you agree with my plan? Asked Hagoromo. All right, only the leaders will go, that is Yusaka, the Mao, Seraphim and Azazel. Sirzex looked at his younger sister and the others present. Although it would be good if Odin-sama came as a consultant and one of the teenagers as a means of treaty. Rias and Sona, although I would like to take you, I need you and your nobility to organize a meeting with the other teenagers and adults from the other dimension, but one from your peerage will be coming us. The Red Mao then looked at the 4th daughter of the Phoenix, who looked at him in surprise when he said, Revel, you are coming with us. I'll go too. To everyone's surprise, Valley Lucifer stated seriously, then said, I want to fight Sasuke Uchiha at the first opportunity. You're insane, Valley, do you want to fight a guy who can split a meteor in half? His rival, Issei Hyodo, refuted. He, okay, you can go. I need everyone who is going to go together to teleport them to the elemental nations, said the Rakuto Sennin. Those present nodded and gathered in a small circle, a circle that glowed and disappeared with a strong glow of energy. A great wise man once said, "The world is changing and you must change with it," said Hagoromo. For Boruto Uzumaki, life had turned out to be something peculiar. Since he was a child they called him a genius. At first he attributed that the fact that as his 2chan is the current Nonodime Hokage, he must have been a genius too, right? Then he discovered that his father was so many great things, but a child prodigy was not one of them. Although, due to the incident in which he and his sensei, Sasuke Uchiha, were involved, Boruto was able to meet the 12-year-old version of the man who would one day become his father. Naruto Uzumaki, even as a child, transmitted a strange feeling of empathy, and Boruto instantly knew that his father had always been a person who would never break a bond voluntarily. No, he would fight to the point of exhaustion to protect that bond. Now they have gotten along better. It's not like they had always gotten along badly. The fights between him and his father started when his father obtained the title of Hokage. Currently he realized that he was partially guilty of that, but his father didn't care, escaping from possessing guilt. Boruto admired his father from the first moment he knew what it meant to be a hero. His father was that, a true hero. They always played together, practiced together, talked together, and ate ramen and hamburgers together. Then when Naruto became Hokage, those precious moments disappeared. Hence the small gap that almost separated them was born, since in the eyes of Boruto Uzumaki, the Konoha village had taken their number one heroes from under his nose. But hey, all that was already in the past. A shameful past that was better to forget and think about the present, the beautiful present that was currently within reach. The week started well. His father took time out of his busy schedule and practiced taijutsu with him in the mornings. He ate his mother's delicious food. He adored her. She definitely had the seasoning from the gods themselves, and his younger sister, Himawari. Uzumaki did not bother him with nonsense. She was what could be defined as a perfect younger sister, although Boruto knew that because it was poor Kuruma who put up with his sister's craziness. If it were anyone else they would worry. But Kuruma is the strongest Biju in history, the legendary Kyubi no Yoko. There was a time when naming him in public would terrify the villagers, but now they loved him. The respect that Kuruma earned in the Fourth Ninja War would definitely be remembered forever. Of course, the villagers admired him because he represented the elite of power and supremacy, but they saw him that way because they had never found him eating chocolate with a muddy face at the rate of a cat. If you saw the legendary Kuruma in that painful scene, all respect evaporated immediately. I definitely don't understand women. Sarada wanted to go out to the mall. Why did it bother her that I brought Mitsuki? We are friends after all. Boruto thought as he sighed in frustration. Yes, the young man is identical to his father in that sense. Let's hope it doesn't get to the point where an alien from space has to come and take his love interest away so he can discover that he was madly in love with her. Let's hope not. Currently Boruto Uzumaki was entering in the Hyuga clan complex, his mother's clan. Why was he going there? Well, he had a scheduled visit with his grandfather Hiashi Hyuga. Boruto adored his grandfather. He never scolded him or punished him for anything. He always supported him and agreed with him. Hiashi Hyuga turned out to be the perfect grandfather. Let me go. A voice reached into the young man's ears. This is a misunderstanding. My intention was never to sneak into this place. As he got closer, he was able to look the scene a bit better and understand what was happening. 3 Hyuga guards were surrounding a young girl with blonde hair like his, only that said hair had the peculiarity of being combed in the shape of drills, and of course, the peculiar pink dress immediately positioned her as a young woman of class, possibly of the upper class of the country of fire. Excuse me, what is happening here? Boruto asked, drawing the attention of the 3 Hyuga guards. Is it necessary to draw so much attention? Boruto-sama, one of the guards recognized him instantly. We are sorry that you saw this scene, it's just that this intruder wanted to sneak into the complex and Hiashi-sama's orders are that no one goes in without an invitation unless they are family or family friends. Huh, that could be his grandfather's only flaw, overprotection, I understand. But that girl does not have the face of a murderer, she is clearly an Ojo-sama. Finally someone who has neurons in their brain. Seeing how the situation was beginning to favor her, the young woman with the peculiar hair made her way through the guards to Boruto. I appreciate your help. They didn't believe me when I told them that everything turned out to be a misunderstanding. What is your name? It's okay, these are my grandfather's orders, don't take it personally, and my name is Boruto Uzumaki. My pleasure to you, Ojo-sama, said the blonde Uzumaki. Boruto Uzumaki. Something inside the young woman's mind clicked instantly, the son of the Nanadime Hokage. That Boruto Uzumaki. Yes, there's no one else with that name. Boruto replied with a drop of sweat that ran down the boy's head. My name is Ravel Phoenix, the young blonde with blue eyes introduced herself. How do I explain it? Oh, I know, my leaders and I came to talk to your father. But inexplicably we ended up getting separated and I reappeared in the middle of this complex, then I was accused by those guards. You want to talk to Tu-chan? Why? Did something bad happen? Boruto asked, raising an eyebrow. That is precisely the point to be discussed. Nothing bad has happened, at least not yet. Well, the truth is that I do not have the necessary political weight to explain this matter. Only I came as a listener and a helper to my leaders. Ravel responded, remembering the Rakudo Sennin's warning. Listener, assistant. Ravel's formal way of speaking was confusing the blonde Uzumaki a little. You're just like Sarada, you use very complicated terms to explain simple things. You want to talk to Tu-chan, right? Yes, it would be an honor, replied the little phoenix. I see, then come on, I'll take you to Tu-chan, said Boruto. Oh really? On impulse, Ravel took the blonde Uzumaki's hands into her hands. Thank you very much. Ieta, blushing a little bit Ion. The young man then looked to the side and tried to show a calm face. Of course, it's nothing. Seconds later, Ravel then realized on how she was holding the hands of a young man she had just met. And like Boruto, she blushed and looked at the floor. See, can you guide me, please? The young phoenix asked, still embarrassed by her careless way of acting. Why yeah, follow me, Boruto responded. And as they both walked towards the Hokage Tower, he thought in his head, she looks and acts a little like Sarada. Or is it my imagination? Meanwhile inside the Hyuga complex. Where is my grandson? Said Hiyashi with anime-like tears in his eyes wanting to see him. Please calm down father, he's probably running late, said Hanabi Hyuga. Please hurry Boruto or my fat her will flood the complex in his tears. Thought the young Hyuga. You know, Ero Sennin, now that I am an adult I realize so many things. The first is that I miss being a loud brat. Life was easier when I was a kid. Back when there were no responsibilities, but it is part of growing up, right? Every year on this date I come here, although a week ago I brought Boruto with me, I was not planning to miss one of my 3 annual visits. The owner of that voice was none other than Naruto Uzumaki, the Nanadime Hokage and hero of the ninja world. Becoming Hokage almost separated my son and I'm still a little stupid. Lucky that I have Hinata with me, because I'm sure I wouldn't even know where my own head is. Recently I think about what could have been. I'm sure you would have been a wonderful grandfather and my kids would love you as much as I do. Naruto would rarely be like this, but he was in front of his sensei's grave, and not here it was worth telling lies. I miss you, Ero Sennin. I miss our training, our talks and above all, I miss our silly arguments. I know you are up there, resting in heaven. I hope you are surrounded by dozens of sexy angels in tiny swimsuits. You more than anyone have earned that rest. Naruto then stood up from the grass and dusted off his pants, looking one last time at his master's grave. I knew you would be here, said a female voice that Naruto knew. I didn't want to interrupt you, so I swear I didn't hear anything. I waited until you finished talking to Jiraiya-sama. Don't worry Sakura, I felt your presence a while ago. I know you didn't spy or hear anything. Naruto said, looking at her. Is something wrong, Sakura-chan? Nothing. I just wanted to see my friend for a while. Although to tell the truth, I need you to approve financing for the hospital. Soon we will have the materials to produce cheap prosthetics, though they will not be as functional as your right arm, but at least people will be able to hold a glass of water with their new hand. Sakura responded, I'm aware about the financing. Ba-chan spoke to me yesterday. This afternoon I was thinking of signing it, even though I would like for everyone to be able to recover a part of their body. We cannot just give away the Senju DNA. If it falls into the wrong hands the consequences will be terrible. As Naruto finished what he said, he looked at his right hand, a hand that he had managed to recover thanks to a prosthesis made with Hashirama's cells. That's very true, said Sakura, feeling the same way as Naruto. So how did Boruto's date go? Naruto asked, changing the topic of the conversation. Well, I don't think it ended well. It seems he took Mitsuki with them and Sarada ended up hitting and leaving him alone. Sakura revealed. Oh, that boy, I know he loves her. Just who did he get the denseness from? Said Naruto. Who knows, let's hope he doesn't need an alien from space to come and kidnap Sarada so that he love her. It would be a very repetitive cliché, right? Sakura said with total irony. Naruto almost fell to the ground at the not at all subtle hint. Okay, I understand the point, he gets it from me dadbayo. Naruto said with a resigned sigh. He had no right to criticize on that topic. I don't know what you're talking about. Sakura replied with ignorance. Sakura-chan. Naruto's change of expression let Sakura know that the next topic would be something serious. Have you ever felt like you forgot something important? Naruto told Sakura. From your tone I realize that you are not referring about restoring the cupboard in your old apartment. Though I don't know what to tell you, sometimes I forget important things. It is natural for our brain to discard information at random. Sakura commented, though she wanted to help her friend on forgotten memories he has. Maybe you're right, I shouldn't take it personally, it shouldn't be anything important. His voice seemed at once to contradict his words. Naruto, Sakura whispered in a low voice. After all, Naruto is her best friend, practically her brother in everything but blood, she cared about him a lot. As the duo of friends continued their way back to the village. While they enjoyed the natural landscape, the sound of a child voice reached their ears. Sakura instinctively ran towards the place of where the voice came from. Oka-sama, Oka-sama, leaders of the factions, where are you? The voice exclaims. That voice belonged to KUNOU, the Yukai princess of Kyoto. Hey, are you okay? Sakura was the first to arrive at the scene. Are you lost, little one? Huh, KUNOU reacted and looked at the pink-haired women. Yes, I came with my Oka-sama, but I don't know where she is. Then the little blonde then looked around her. I don't know where I am either. Don't worry, I'll help you find your Oka-sama. Sakura commented, wanting to reassure the little blonde. My name is Sakura Haruno, I am the director of the Konoha Hospital, and this, Sakura introduced the newcomer. Is the Hokage, Naruto Uzumaki. Sakura-chan, don't run away like that. Naruto said as arrived, and looking at his friend. Don't be lazy, you're the Hokage, stay in shape. The pink-haired girl replied. You have a point, but, however, before Naruto finished speaking he felt small arms around his body. Is something wrong, little one? No, it's okay, I'm happy to finally meet you. Otu-sama, KUNOU said as her determined eyes were welling up with tears of happiness. For a few seconds Naruto's brain was frozen, then what woke him up was the strong blow he received from his best friend that brought him back. Naruto, why does this girl call you Otu-sama? Sakura roared. I don't know, but I swear, Sakura-chan, I have never cheated on Hinata, I promise, he replied as the blonde Hokage tried to defend himself from his best friend blows. Oka-sama and Grandpa Rakudo said that my Otu-sama is called Naruto Uzumaki, and you are Naruto Uzumaki. KUNOU said as she pointed at the Nanadime Hokage. Ojo-chan, maybe your mother and your grandfather Riku. As soon he pronounced the last name, he realized what the little girl had called her grandfather. Rakudo, is your grandfather's name, Rakudo? He is not my blood grandfather. But he is super incredible, he has 3 eyes and floats in the air, he can also create objects out of nothing and he is like a god. And he said that you already knew him, he is super incredible. KUNOU spoke about the father of the ninjas with great emotion. Naruto Uzumaki knew a Rakudo, but the only Rakudo he knew was the legendary Rakudo Sennin. The sage of the 6 paths. Naruto, for your sake I hope that what this girl's saying is a misunderstanding, because as I see it, the Rakudo Sennin sent her to you so that you accept your paternity. As Sakura finished what she was saying, a black aura surrounded her body. The Nanadime screamed in fear when he saw the aura that surrounded his best friend. Wait, Sakura-chan. We are adults, let's talk about this in a civilized way, the blonde Uzumaki suggested, calming her down a little. Ojo-chan, Etta, how to say it, when you talk about Grandpa Rakudo, are you talking about the Rakudo Sennin? Naruto asked the little girl. Yes, the son of the goddess Kagaya, he told us all that. Kuno responded, as if she was talking about the weather. Grandpa RLD finally meet you. That I could see your eyes for the first time. Without realizing it account, Kuno began to cry. I had always wanted to meet you, to know what kind of man you were. Oka-sama said that. You were a great person who never broke a promise, that you were a hero. Ojo-chan, Naruto whispered, completely moved. You are even better than how I imagined you. Your chakra is so warm and welcoming, from here I can feel it. It is like a strong light that shines brightly even in the darkness, a beautiful golden chakra. Kuno's words caught the attention of the duo of friends. First, the words were tender and touching. Second, how could a girl of perhaps 10 years old feel chakra like that? You can feel Naruto's chakra. How? Sakura asked. I do not understand what you mean, but I can feel his chakra because I see it. It is golden like mine. Oka-sama explained to me that those who possess the chakra also tend to feel a reassurance. She said, though certainly, Kuno's words were very wise to be invented by a child. She was quoting verbatim the explanation that some adult must have given her. But Sakura wanted to continue asking questions, but when she saw how Naruto made a sign with his hand, she remained silent. Ojo-chan, what you say is true, your chakra and mine are the same. Well, I don't know what to say. But chakra doesn't lie, somehow you and I are indeed connected. Naruto stated, surprising his friend with such a revelation. It's because you are my Otu-sama. Kuno insisted, wiping away her tears. Our chakra knows that we are father and daughter. Naruto wanted to deny that fact. After all, he didn't know this little blonde. But how could he deny it? Aside from the fact of the blonde's clear innocence, her words were true and the chakra didn't lie, it never did. In a way, in some crazy way that he understands something, she was his daughter. Naruto, we better return to the village. Sakura suggested, knowing beforehand that this topic would be something serious. Hinata, how are you going to explain her this? Sakura asked. I have never been unfaithful to her, not even in thought, I can swear it in front of anyone. The blonde Uzumaki stated tenaciously. I know, you're not that kind of man. Sakura said, trusting her friend. Then what was the punch for? Naruto asked, still feeling the pain that the blow that she caused. Because of the scare. She immediately replied. Ojo-chan, what's your name? Naruto asked the little blonde. Kuno, Otu-sama. Princess Yukai immediately responded with joy in her voice. Sakura-chan and I are heading back to the village. Do you want to come with us? Asked the blonde Hokage. Kuno nodded. I see, then let's go, Kuno-chan. Naruto said to his now new daughter. Etta. Kuno looked at the ground embarrassed. Will you, carrying me on your back? Asked the little yokai. Sakura smiled at question. As he heard her question, Naruto's response was not oral, but rather he crouched down and offered his back to the little Yukai princess. Kuno, upon seeing this, ran excitedly and climbed onto Naruto's shoulders. When he stood up with Kuno on his shoulders, the little blonde looked at the road completely excited. This is incredible, Otu-sama is very strong. Kuno exclaimed. Ashley look around from the incredible height from her father. What's your mother's name, Kuno-chan? With her name we can try to track her, asked Sakura. Yusaka, my Oka-sama is called Yusaka. Kuno responded. I love you, Yusaka-chan. That name, Naruto was sure he had heard that name before, even those words of I love you. He could almost swear he had said them at some point in time. He was confused, even lost would better define his current state. Why doesn't he remember this little girl's mother? She knows him, she can even sense his chakra even though she is a child. The Rakudo Sennin, Naruto had not seen him for years. After the Fourth Ninja War ended, he never saw him again. So why does he appear now? What did he need this time? He wasn't sure, and had a lot of doubts. Then he looked up, where Kuno is smiling like there is no tomorrow. I will definitely find out. T's a promise Dadbeo, Naruto thought to himself. There was an inconvenience, more than that, a setback. The reason why each individual brought from the DXD universe arrived in different places was because when crossing the dimensional gap they were separated. The faction leaders, Odin and the leader of Kyoto, Yusaka all landed in different areas of Konoha village. Era, where am I? Thog, Yusaka who started to get worried for her daughter, then she checked for her chakra, and then calmed down to see that she was fine. Calm down, Kuno's chakra is fine and does not seem to be weakening, so she is safe and sound. On the other hand, I don't know this area and I must locate my location, she thought. Yusaka had that doubt, but thanks to the luck of fate, a building in front whose gray A test peculiarity was the enormous screen in front of it, gave the time and its current location. 10:30 a.m., KUNOU village. So this is KUNOU, said Yusaka as she then looked around with her eyes at the place that now surrounded her. This is Naruto's home, the home where her former lover and still the love of her life was born. Naruto told her years ago that unlike Kyoto, KUNOU was very simple. But in Yusaka's eyes this KUNOU was a mix of New York City and a ninja village. She wanted to question the logic for a few seconds, but then she realized that in this dimension the years had passed. And Naruto was now an adult man of 30 years old. As Yusaka walked through the center, she could hear different murmurs that the villagers began to say. Look at her, she's as beautiful. Where did she come from? Is she single? They must be fake. They are not. My years have given me wisdom and I can assure you that those melons are real. That last one was less than a murmur, it was more of a loud exclamation. Yusaka was no stranger to that, because just by looking at herself she realized that she was an attractive woman. More than that, she was without a doubt one of the most beautiful women in the world. And she can say it without any gram of arrogance. When she became pregnant with KUNOU and refused to give them the father's name, almost all of the young Yukai nobles, instead of rejecting her, saw it as an opportunity, believing that she would want to cover up her pregnancy with the help of a suitor. After all, if they married her, they would claim to be the husband of the leader of Kyoto. And her price would be to give legitimacy to her daughter. Thoughts all in Yusaka's mind. KUNOU had a father, a wonderful man, and although unfortunately he would not be by her side, why? Asaka would never dare to usurp the place that belonged only to Naruto Uzumaki. Why don't I have a last name? A little KUNOU asked her many years ago. The leaders of Kyoto do not have a surname. ACH man who inherited the leadership was descended from the main house of Kyoto, so his wife abandoned her surname to rule alongside her husband. Yusaka told her daughter, but Oka-sama, you are not a man, you are a woman. So if you don't have a last name, my Otu-sama should have one. Why don't I take Otu-sama's last name? Replied the little fox. Etta, well, every time she had to deny KUNOU her father's last name, a part of Yusaka's heart slowly broke. KUNOU longed to know at least her father's name. Yusaka told her daily stories about Naruto. Each story increased KUNOU's pride and admiration towards her father. Without knowing his name or seeing his face, she loved him. KUNOU loved her father so much. Father who was capable of exclaiming it to the four heavens without any shame. KUNOU Uzumaki, Yusaka pronounced said name in a low voice. Yes, now it is possible, she can bear her father's name, she can carry the Uzumaki symbol on her back, the future heir of Kyoto will carry the Uzumaki surname in her name. Flashback ends. Yusaka stopped in front of a stall with a peculiar name. Ichiraku Ramen. It's a small place, almost but I swear, Yusaka-chan, they sell the best ramen in the world. That's what Naruto had said, but the ramen stand in front of Yusaka wasn't small, it was at least 3 stories tall, and apparently it was in high demand. Out of simple curiosity, she entered the building and was greeted by a kind woman with brown hair and eyes. Welcome to Ichiraku Ramen, I'm Ayane, what would you like to eat? Ayane said to Yusaka. Yasa. Ka looked at the menu with curiosity. It's my first time in KUNOU, would you be so kind as to suggest me the best dish? Ho, of course I do. Ayane puffed out her chest proudly, I'm going to cook it right away. Wait, you said it's your first time in KUNOU, right? Yes, I just arrived, Yusaka told Ayane. Then I will tell my father to prepare it for you, there is no one better than him to make you fall in love with ramen. Ayane told Yusaka, who had a big smile on her face. I would be delighted, replied Yusaka. Minutes later, an elderly man, perhaps around 65 years old, arrived in front of Yusaka. Are you Tsuki, the legendary Tsuki ramen? Yusaka asked on impulse. It seems that I'm famous, you see Ayane, your Tsu-chan is great. Tsuki puffed out his chest with pride. I understand that it's your first time in KUNOU and you doesn't know what to order, is that true? Asked Tsuki. That's right, when I eat ramen it is with my daughter who chooses it. My little girl is like a bottomless pit. She can eat up to 20 bowls and she is still not satisfied, she inherited that from her father. Yusaka smiled spontaneously and continued her story. She always says, Oka-sama, ramen is the food of the gods. You must appreciate the elite dish of the culinary world. Ha, She must be the same as little Hima-chan, she is a worthy daughter of Naruto and Hinata-sama, worthy followers of ramen. But Boruto, I adore that boy, but, Tuki looked at the ceiling indignantly, then he explained. How can he prefer a dirty hamburger over ramen? Curse. Hamburgers are just junk food. Ramen is the food of the gods. Quote, Otu-san, it is not okay for you to call the Nanadime by his first name, you should call him by his title. Ayane scolded her father. Nonsense, I have been feeding Naruto since he was a child. I can call him whatever I want, he is like a son to me, said Tuki. And Naruto-san feels the same, but, Ayane was stopped by her father. See, you called him Naruto and not Nanadime. You are as guilty as I am, he immediately replied back to her statement. Mou, Otu-san, she said to her father. Yusaka looked at the funny scene in front of her and couldn't help but laugh lightly. The first bowl of ramen he ate was at this place, right? On a rainy night where he was cruelly ignored, but a kind man whom he had never seen offered him a warm meal. I know the story. I know it very well. It's a beautiful story, she pronounced naturally from the mouth of the blonde yokai. Excuse me, beautiful lady, how do you know that story? Tuki asked, staring at Yusaka with Ayane raising a brow. Many things are known about Naruto, but there are stories that remain a secret. Ah, yes, I say no, I say. Yusaka was no stranger to these kinds of problems. She calmed her breathing and responded, I have known Naruto Uzumaki for several years. He saved me many years ago, he gave me hope, and he also told me things about his childhood. Excuse me if I say too much, Tuki-san. Quote, oh I see, you are an acquaintance of Naruto, why didn't you say it before? Tuki said as completely changed his expression. Naruto's friends always have the first course for free. So I'll show you the ramen of the gods. Friends. Yes, whether she likes it or not, she could only refer to Naruto that way. They were no longer lovers, he won't even remember who she was. Sadly and despite herself, she feared that Naruto, upon meeting her again, would only think of her as a friend. Tachi-san, good morning. A new voice entered the scene. Would you be so kind as to prepare me a pork ramen? Please. Asked the new voice. Of course, it is always an honor to cook for the person who holds the record in my restaurant. Tuki responded, then turned to the leader of Kyoto and responded. It's true, you don't know her. He told Yusaka, and with clear admiration in his voice, then Tuki introduced the newcomer. Meet the queen of ramen, the wife of the Nanadime Hokage, Hinata-sama. Slowly, almost in slow motion, Yusaka turned and stared at the woman who ended up becoming Naruto's wife. A pleasure, I'm Hinata Uzumaki. Greeted the beautiful woman with pearly eyes. What's your name? Asked Hinata. I am. The words took a while to come out, not because of fear, but because of the almost unreal scene in which she found herself in, but she was able to control herself and replied back. Yusaka, my name is Yusaka. Delighted, it is nice to meet you Yusaka-san, said the wife of the Nanadime Hokage. And so, the only women's who had managed to conquer the heart of the number one ninja in surprising people, had seen each other face to face, for the first time. Destined Encounters Part 2. 5 minutes before Hinata met Yusaka. For Himawari, Uzumaki's day has been weird for her. Himawari was with her mother to get some ramen from Ichiraku Ramen, her family favorite place to go. However, her destination changed a bit when Hinata and her saw two blonde people surrounded by shinobis and kunoichis. How did you enter the village? Asked one shinobis. Please, we just got lost on the way here with the other leaders, replied Michael. What others? Said a kunoichi, narrowing their eyes at them. Wait please, the other leaders and us just wants to talk to your Hokage, pleaded Gabriel. You wish to speak with my husband? Asked the wife of the Hokage. Lady Hinata, said one of the shinobis, then bowed halfway to her. Forgive us for the intrusion, but these people just showed out of nowhere. I see, said Hinata. Have they harmed anybody? No, they haven't, but we don't want to take a second glance since the attack on the Chunin exams, replied a kunoichi. I understand, but we need to be more careful, we don't accidentally want to cause a conflict, said Hinata. We understand, Lady Hinata, replied all the shinobis and kunoichis. All of you may go, said Hinata, and as soon as she said that, all of the shinobis and kunoichis except for the last two ninjas were stopped. Except for you two, I need you to take them to my husband, Hinata told to the two shinobis. Yes ma'am, replied the two. Thank you UUMM, "What is your name, ma'am?" asked Michael. "My name is Uzumaki Hinata," she replied to the angels. "Thank you, Hinata-sama. My name is Michael and this is my sister Gabriel," Michael told to the wife of the Hokage. "You're welcome, Michael-sama, and this is my daughter Himawari," the once Hyuga told him. Oh, can I go with them? I wish to see Oto Yu-chan," said Himawari, who wanted to see her daddy. "Okay, my little one, just be safe," Hinata told her daughter. "Are you sure you're okay with that?" asked Gabriel. "She could get kidnapped. I trust the people, we're all family here," replied Hinata, "and I know you won't take her. I don't see you both the type of people to do that." "No, we would never," said Gabriel. "Well, come on, follow me," said Himawari as she turned all her body all the way around to take them to the Hokage Tower. "Thank you, little one," said Gabriel. Meanwhile, with Sasuke Uchiha was homing his skills in the Forest of Death, doing the same thing that Itachi did when they were younger. However, Sasuke then threw 3 kunais in the forest, and wore block a blue and white gauntlet on a person hand. "So you're the one who was sneaking on me," said Sasuke in his monotone voice. "Yes, I did, and I wish to fight," said the voice. However, he was interrupted by another voice. "Oh, I am so sorry about him, I hope he didn't you no harm," said Azazel, who was now next to Valley. "Hey, you can't enter." Before he could finish his sentence, he got a glare that says, "I will deal with you later," from the Leals. "No harm done," replied Uchiha in dull tone, but then started questioning them. "Though who are you? You don't look like you are from the other 5 villages." "Well, my name is Azazel." He then pointed to Valley. "Valley is his name. And where are you from?" Sasuke asked the question again coldly now. Well, you see," Azazel trying to explain their predicament. However, Uchiha then stopped him from speaking. "You two are coming with me," demanded Sasuke. "Now Valley tried to say, however Azazel covered his mouth with his hand again. "We understand," immediately replied the fallen angel. Then they head off to the village. With Sarada Uchiha, the daughter of Sasuke Uchiha, was in a bad mood, all because of a dumb blonde-headed Uzumaki named Boruto. She was excited to hang out with Boruto, but only as friends, and was definitely not a date. However, it got ruined when he brought Mitsuki. Though it wasn't Mitsuki's fault, it was Portal for being so dumb. Dumb Boruto and his stupidity," muttered the young Uchiha. However, before she can mutter any more about the blonde Uzumaki, she stopped when she heard an explosion outside of the house. "Great, what's going on now?" Sarada said. She didn't walk to the door and opened it and was about to walk out, but stopped when she saw a girl with raven black hair wearing a pink dress as if she's cosplaying, having a large staff in her hand. Excuse me, what are you doing?" asked Sarada. However, as soon as she finished speaking, the woman ran to her. "Hello girl, my name is Seraphal Leviathan. What is your name?" yelled the Leviathan to the young Uchiha. I can hear a ringing in my ears," yelled out the young Uchiha. She was excited to hang out with Boruto, but only as friends, and was definitely not a date. However, it got ruined when he brought Mitsuki. Though it wasn't Mitsuki's fault, it was Portal for being so dumb. How else can my day can get any worse?" thought Sarada, but then realized something. "Wait a minute, where did you even come from?" Well, you see, Seraphal was trying to explain, but she was stuttering a bit. "Oh yeah, how you going to do?" However, before she could finish, someone karate chopped her in the neck and knocked her out. "Oh hey Mitsuki," Sarada said to the son of the Snake Sage. "Hello Sarada, how are you?" said Mitsuki. "I'm doing fine," Sarada replied, but then asked him a question. "What are you doing here though?" What be Boruto and Io on ADD date? No, you got all W wrong," said Sarada. "I'm blushing red like a tomato. As much I want to tease you. What do we do with the lady?" asked Mitsuki while Sarada was trying to calm herself down. "We will take her to the 7th Hokage. He'll know what to do," replied Sarada, now calm to her regular state. "Okay," he replied. Mitsuki then put Seraphal on his shoulder, and both Sarada and him walked to the Hokage Tower. But she, out of the 6 encounters in and out of the village, we'll see a brand new dawn in the village of KUNOU. Destined encounter final. Moments before Himawari Uzumaki take the angels to Hokage Tower, Ajuka and Odin were in an office that had pictures of previous Hokages and an amount of paperwork on the desk, with a man sitting on the seat of said desk. 30 seconds earlier, Nara Shikama, Ru was doing some paperwork for his friend and Hokage, who went to go see the tombstone of the legendary Toad Sage. However, a bright light encased the entire room, and when the bright light turned down and two men were now in front of him. However, a bright light encased the entire room, and when the bright light was brightening down, two men were now in front of him. However, a bright light encased the entire room, and when the bright light turned down and two men were now in front of him. Hi, said Ajuka. Hey, Odin said. Sigh, how troublesome, replied Shikamaru. Then in front of the room, the door opened up and came in Boruto and Ravel. Hey da oh hey Uncle Shikamaru, said Boruto, who thought his father was in the room but only to see Shikamaru. Sigh, hello Boruto, replied the Nara. Are we interrupting something? Asked Ravel. Ravel-chan, are you alright? Asked Ajuka. Hello Ajuka-sama, I am fine. She then pointed her finger to Boruto. Boruto here helped me. Well, thank you Boruto for helping Lady Ravel, said Ajuka. Oh well, it was no problem, replied Boruto. Well, now that is settled, where is Naruto Uzumaki? Asked Odin. What do you want with the 7th Hokage? Shikamaru replied with a question of his own. Ravel said that they wanted to talk with my dad about something political. Boruto told Shikamaru. Shimaru started humming while thinking. How troublesome. Are we interrupting something? Asked Ravel. Ravel-chan, are you alright? Asked Ajuka. Yes my lord, replied his lovely wife. All they remember that the Rakudo Sennin transported them to the world of Naruto. And now being of the streets of Konoha. Hey Sirzex, Graphia, both turned their head to see that it was Michael calling their name and Gabriel with a girl by her side. Are you two alright? We're alright Michael-sama, Sirzex told Michael, then turned to Gabriel. But who is this little one? Graphia then spoke. Hello there little one, my name is Graphia, and she turned her head to Sirzex. And this is Sirzex, my husband. Hello Graphia-chan, Sirzex-sama, my name is Uzumaki Himawari, she told to the two devils, then turned her head to Gabriel. Are they your friends? Yes, they are Himawari-chan, Gabriel answered the little Uzumaki. She then turned her head to the two devils. Are you also going to talk to my daddy? Are you the Hokage's daughter? Asked Sirzex, trying to remember the little girl from the viewing. Yes, my daddy is the 7th Hokage. Himawari immediately responded with a big smile on her face. Yes, Himawari here is taking us to his office. The leader of the angels told the devils. Well Himawari-chan, could you also take us with you to your father? Graphia asked the little Uzumaki. Yes of course, come follow me, she told them, and took both the angels and the devils on the way to the Hokage Tower. In the viewing room dimension, Kiba then stopped next to him with another fancy seat. Issei-kun, we need to make the place more comfortable for our company that we will get for this meeting. Yes, he is correct Issei-kun, replied Rias, who then pointed at the white-hair cat girl who was carrying 2 sets of chairs in her arms. Now pick up the pace, carrying more chairs than you are. Yes President, replied Issei, a bit depressed on how the white-hair cat girl able to carry more chairs than him. I don't think so, Akano, Rias said as she put down a paper that held the stuff that was needed for the meeting. I doubt they will allow their kids in harm's way. Sona then comes in with her peerage carrying a long meeting table. Well, let's hope we don't have to do any brats, Sanji yelled out as he carries a large table with the rest of Sona's peerage. Well, I hope our leaders are doing well, Asia said sitting next to Rias as she was petting her head to help the tension off of her. I'm pretty sure they're fine, last I checked Naruto-sama can be reasoned with. That's if Valley doesn't cause any trouble, replied a black-hair Nekomata. Yeah, let's hope not, Kiba replied. Thanks for watching. Sasuke Uchiha pointed his